at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And Bill Elliott sits inside the second row with Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, those two wins that Bill Elliott has came in North Carolina and Virginia, but Georgia is Bill Elliott's home state. Atlanta Raceway, your home track. Will it make it tougher to win 3 in a row playing in front of the home crowd?
Well, it's always tough to win 3 in a row. We're going to give it our best shot, see what comes up.
Bill, you're running radial tires here at Atlanta for the first time. Are there any concerns about that?
Well, not right at the moment. We're going to have to monitor them as the race goes on and then determine what they're going to do after a new number of laps.
Well, good luck.
Motor Speedway, we are ready for the running of the Motorcraft 500. Winston Cup Stock Car Racing. Hello and welcome to Atlanta. I'm Paul Page, and we now begin ABC's motorsports coverage for this 1992 year with this great Winston Cup Stock Car race. And then immediately after our live coverage here, we'll bring you round number 1 of the International Race of Champions from Daytona, Florida. And I'm going to tell you, you have never seen a finish quite like this one. And then, of course, we begin our coverage a little later of the Indy cars with coverage at Phoenix and Long Beach leading up to live coverage of the 76th running of the great Indianapolis 500-mile race in May. Now, this is a very special year for us at ABC. We have been covering the king, Richard Petty, back to 1962, and this is his final racing season. Richard Petty has announced his retirement at the end of the year. Now, Benny Parsons, you've been following him most of your life.
Since 1964, I ran my first NASCAR race, and I was a 22-year-old kid. How do you meet Richard Petty? He walks up to you, sticks out his hand, said, "Hi, I'm Richard Petty." I knew then he was a special guy. In 1970, when I ran my first full-time year, about the 5th race of the year, I run into Richard Petty trying to pass him, crashing. All he ever said to me was, "Kid, these races are 500 laps, 500 miles long. You got to be patient. That's the key." Then I found out he was also a friend.
A very special man, Richard Petty. And right now, he's with Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, this 1992 Fan Appreciation Tour has kept Richard Petty busy throughout the week. Before he comes to a racetrack, he travels all over the country, through the South. In fact, all the way across this country, fulfilling his obligations to his fans. But Richard Petty says that the best time, the time where he has the most fun, is when he straps himself inside this car and gets ready to start a race. But, Richard, is it as much fun now as it was when you began racing?
Well, it's just so much different right now than what it used to be, but this year has been really a lot of fun so far. Last 3 or 4 years not been too good because I hadn't done that good, but this year is going to be a fun year. So far, it's been a lot of fun.
Well, Paul, he has 200 victories to his credit. If he hopes to score 201 today, he's got a long way to go to the front. He starts in row 16.
And boy, wouldn't you love to see it. So Richard Petty sits ready to go. Now we're ready. Let's go down trackside again. Here is Gary Gerald.
And Paul, here at the head of the grid, we're still waiting for a confirmation from NASCAR to get the starting command. It is not yet quite here, and so we're going to continue to stand by. Tom Wagner, a vice president of the Ford Motor Company, stands by with us as this entire field is waiting. We've had a couple of drivers who were late getting onto the line. They had problems getting through tech. That's a story you'll be getting into in the course of this race. Davey Allison, and also it was Harry Gant. And now let's switch over to Jack Arute as we await the command to start engines.
Well, Paul, one of the big stories occurred yesterday afternoon during a Grand National race when this driver, Ernie Irvan, crashed early on. He just got out of the hospital 2 hours ago. He suffers from a fractured left collarbone. And he will be coming out of the car after the first green flag lap. He'll be replaced by Terry Labonte's younger brother, Bobby Labonte. Labonte has only driven 4 Winston Cup races in his career.
So as Ernie Irvan sits ready, the command to start engines has been given. And these magnificent Winston Cup stock cars are beginning to fire up and down pit road. The balloons are released, the pulse quickens, and we are ready to go racing. The entire field sitting on pit road and looking very, very strong indeed. Now, one thing that has been very strong this season, the use of the word dominance has come into play, is the Ford automobiles. And just to prove that, let's take a look at the finishes of the first 3 races this year. Ford has been extraordinarily powerful, finishing first and second in all 3 of them. Another fact to take a look at, how many laps have been led by Ford? Over 990. The rest led by General Motors. Bobby Unser, there's no question they are incredibly powerful this year.
Well, Paul, this can be a very important year for Ford. It's a fact. The make that wins here today sells tomorrow, and Ford has not won a Winston Cup Manufacturers Championship since 1969. They've been working hard for over a year on the programs winning today, and the secret is in the cylinder head and the engine. The new Ford heads are making at least 30 more horsepower than the GMs. Now, 30 may not sound like a lot, but it makes a giant difference on the racetrack. This is only the 4th race this year, so don't count GM out. They've been working flat out to meet the Ford challenge. The front row is Ford, but Terry Levante's hose is on the 2nd row, where he out-qualified Bill Elliott.
And when we talk about domination, in the past, the title Dominator used to belong to Dale Earnhardt. He has not had the greatest season this year, and with the Chevrolet, there is some question how well he can do. But right now, Gary Gerald is right there alongside Earnhardt's machine.
Oh, this is the man that's won the Winston Cup Championship 4 of the last 6 years, but this year it's been a season of frustration. His best finish thus far, 9th at Daytona. And compounding the situation, a tough case of the flu this weekend, but he says he's feeling stronger as he gets ready for 500 miles at Atlanta. Now, you talk about Ford dominance. Some people have been wondering, is Dale Earnhardt at a disadvantage because he's behind the wheel of a Chevrolet, not driving a Ford? And you throw into the mix those radial tires for the first time in Atlanta. Goodyear has brought the radial here. And Richard Childress and this crew, led by Dale Earnhardt, have struggled trying to make the adjustment, because when you go to the radial, it's a much different handling setup than with the bias ply tires they've run in the past. But remember this, here is a man who has won 6 Winston Cup races at Atlanta in the past. You cannot count him out. Paul?
No question about that. And let me tell you, too, Dale Earnhardt is hungry. Let's go back up toward the front of the field at Billy Elliott's car, Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, Bill Elliott will be riding this race with an untested setup. Late yesterday afternoon, after the final practice session, crew chief Tim Brewer determined that the setup that they had elected to go with was not the right way to go out of concern for twisted axles, for axles coming apart down by the shaft. And here's what the problem, what causes that problem is the radial tires. What a lot of these teams are doing is putting camber in the rear wheels to gain adhesion in the corners. Benny Parsons told you how much corner you have here in Atlanta. Well, they looked at the Grand National race yesterday, saw several problems with teams there. They have elected not to go with camber in the rear end. They have gone to a different gear selection, but it's a totally unproven setup, Paul. They don't know what it's going to do.
All right, now the starting field begins to roll away. They sat on pit road plenty of time to give all these engines to come up. Nice operating temperature. Now let's take a look at the key players in this race here today. We'll look at the full field in just a few moments. But right now, let's take a look at the front 13 rows. In the 13th row, it's Davey Allison, the Daytona 500 winner and the current point leader. Alongside is Hut Strickland. The 12th row, Jeff Bodine, who has 3 runner-up finishes here at Atlanta. And Ricky Rudd, the winner of the 1987 Motorcraft 500. The 11th row is Michael Waltrip and Ernie Irvin, who was injured in yesterday's Grand National event. In the 10th row, it's Bobby Hamilton, last year's Rookie of the Year, and Pennsylvanian Jimmy Spencer. The 9th row, Dale Jarrett, quarterback for Redskins coach Joe Gibbs' NASCAR team, and Greg Sachs, the former winner at Daytona. In the 8th row, Kyle Petty, the 3rd-generation driver looking for his first Atlanta win, and Ted Musgrave. In the 7th row, it's Darrell Waltrip, a 3-time winner here at Atlanta, and Morgan Shepherd. 2 of his 3 career wins have come here. The 6th row, Rick Mast in the Oldsmobile, and Rusty Wallace, who began his Winston Cup career here in 1980. In the 5th row, Brett Brodine, and alongside is Harry Gant, who is currently 2nd in the point standing. In the 4th row, Dale Earnhardt, a 6-time winner here at Atlanta, and Alan Kowicki, who has never had a top 5 finish at this track. In row 3, Ken Schrader, the defending champion of the Motorcraft 500, and Sterling Marlin, driving Junior Johnson's other Ford. The 2nd row, Terry Labonte. He's finished in the top 10 in all 3 races this year. And Bill Elliott going for 3 in a row. On the front row, the outside is Dick Trickle. And on the pole with a new qualifying record, Mark Martin. He was the winner here last November. And there is the front row as they circle behind the safety car here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Mark Martin and Dick Trickle, Bobby Unser, a most interesting front row.
Well, Paul, Ford driver Mark Martin's year has been a tough one. He's crashed in 2 out of the 3 races, but his last victory was right here last year, and today he's on the pole, and that should really boost his confidence. Dick Trickle, 50 years old, and has won over 1,000 races, but never in Winston Cup. He didn't even have a full-time ride a month ago when he was hired by the Stavola brothers team and got a brand new Ford.
So we'll keep an eye on that front row, Ford power. Here's the onboard cameras for today. On board with Jeff Bodine sitting up on top of his car. What a view that one is. And Richard Petty, of course, got a ride with the King. And then up toward the front of the field, we're on board on top of Bill Elliott as well. A couple other views for you will come up a little bit later in the day, too. Now, Benny Parsons, they're running the radial tires for the very first time here at Atlanta, and that's got some people worried.
Paul, this racetrack has always worried people because you can see that corners are so long. They're a half mile long. The straightaway is only a quarter mile long. You go through the corner, 24-degree banking, get a lot of heat in that right front tire, and there's just no straightaway to cool that tire down. It stays hot all the way around the racetrack.
So on the line today as 42 Winston Cup stock cars circle this 1.522-mile high-banked oval, 24 degrees of banking, 328 laps to make up the 500 miles, and the race record is held by Dale Earnhardt from his 1990 win at 156.8 miles an hour. This field's still on their parade laps as we take a look through the starting field. And a reminder, Ernie Irvan, injured in the accident yesterday, will start the car, but we're standing by because he's expected to change his position and allow Bobby Labonte to take over right after the first lap. And we look for a green flag as they come off the fourth turn. They work on the backstretch right now, down through the entire field.
There we saw Davey Allison back in the 13th row, Daytona 500 winner.
Man who's been struggling with motors this weekend as well.
He's been having trouble with the handling. For some reason or another, Atlanta's just not suiting him, and probably related to the radial tires that Benny's talked about a while ago.
And they've talked about they've changed 5 engines. As Paul said, they have changed 5 engines here this weekend.
Apparently they're finding metal particles in the oil, and that's something you really have to worry about. The front row, the second row, as they are lined up, and in the third turn. The high banks here at Atlanta, 500 miles lie ahead. And what could prove to be a most pivotal afternoon here in the early part of the Winston Cup season. The safety car comes down off the course. And Terry Labonte inside the second row in the blue car. The front row, Dick Trickle to the outside, Mark Martin to the inside. Doyle Ford gives him the green flag, and we are racing. Down into one, just like the pace lap. Labonte comes down to the inside, moves inside of Mark Martin, and there's 3 abreast down the backstretch.
And Terry Labonte takes the lead going in turn 3, but can he make it 6?
Labonte battles with Dick Trickle as Martin drops back and receives a challenge from Bill Elliott. And as we come to the conclusion of the first lap, from the second row, Terry Labonte moves up and takes the lead.
That was quite a daring move that Labonte made, going 3 abreast down the front straightaway on the first lap.
So as Terry Labonte takes the lead of this race and begins to pull away, here comes Ernie Irvan, and Jack Arute is waiting for him.
And Benny Parsons, you were talking about the great run by his brother, Terry Labonte. Well, now Bobby Labonte will get a chance to show how well he can drive this McClure racing car. Ernie Irvan, only 2 hours out of the hospital, pulls the car into pit road. Now, what they did before the start of engine, they practiced this driver exchange to try and get it done as quickly and expeditiously as possible. Irvan still hurting with the collarbone. He is out of the car, as you can see, and now Labonte gets in, and the seat belts and shoulder harnesses were already adjusted to him, so he should not have a great deal of difficulty getting in the car and getting strapped up. The window net is going up. Crew Chief Tony Glover in control of that, and they are now repositioning the steering wheel, and it's taking longer, Paul, than they anticipate. He will go a lap down.
And as he goes a lap down, Terry Labonte flashes across the line in his number 94 car. It took 37 seconds to get a new driver in Ernie Irvan's car. And now Labonte continues a battle with Dick Trickle as there goes Ernie Irvan out.
Well, you can notice right after the start of the race that some of the drivers are a little bit careful. The weather's really cool today, and also it's a little bit of a breeze blowing, and they've got the radial tires. A lot of them are still not sure of it, even though they're faster than the bias fly. But now they're starting to race again and start to gather each other up a little bit.
So Labonte in front, Dick Trickle in second place. Mark Martin runs in third right now. They're strung out at the front of the field, and the rest of the field safely around this track. Here's Bobby Labonte now in Ernie Irvin's car. And he's got a couple of laps to make up if he's to get back to the front of this field and do battle with these cars. Labonte still holding off Trickle. Mark Martin has moved up. His teammate, Bill Elliott's teammate, Sterling Marlin, has pulled into fourth place now.
It looks like that Mark Martin, Sterling Marlin, both those cars now have the faster cars. We see Martin pull right up on the back bumper of the Trickle car.
Of course, if we're looking at that battle of manufacturers, well, for the moment, Oldsmobile, GM product is sitting in front. It's going to make a lot of people in Detroit, that General Motors, pretty happy.
You know, Paul, I don't think we've ever seen a time that's been more important between the car manufacturers as it is today. Ford changed their program last year or for this year to an incentive program. In other words, you get paid on what you do with a Ford product, whereas General Motors kind of picked up the guys they want to be their team guys, and the rest of the guys are not doing as well.
And here comes Dick Trickle as he puts a nose inside of Labonte. Mark Martin closes up behind him, and Dick Trickle moves into the lead.
Dick Trickle, Billy Stavola, Mickey Stavola, those guys that own that car have to be thrilled to death with their car. But here comes Labonte back. He gets a grip on the outside. He will lead this lap.
The completion of lap number 6 sees Labonte go onto the scorecard as the leader of the race. Trickle had him on the backside, but the record book will show Labonte. 5 cars running separate now from the rest of the field. Labonte, then Trickle, then Mark Martin. And Richard Petty runs in 30th now. There you see him alongside Glotzback.
That's
Chad Little just behind him.
Chad Little in the 66th, trying to get by Richard Petty. Back to the lead. Terry Labonte being pressured once again by Trickle. And we see Alan Kowicki.
Wicki gets around Sterling Marlin now.
Oh, you got 5 cars there you can throw a blanket over, and this is just the first few laps at the race. Now, that's really hard racing this early, don't you think, Benny?
I think it is awfully hard. And Paul mentioned, we talked about the radial tires. Some of these guys ought to be sitting back watching what these tires are going to do.
There goes Kowicki alongside of Mark Martin. And Kowicki picks up the position. So definitely Alan Kowicki's on a charge.
I think Kowicki's mad. He lost by 18 inches last week. He wants to win by 18 laps this week.
Yeah, get me back up in front. I want to race with the leaders. He's very close right now.
You know, the passing, if you notice when Kowicki did the pass, and he did it pretty easy. It looked like it's pretty easy. The cars actually back off going into the turns here. It isn't like at Daytona where they run almost wide open all the way around. They absolutely back off. So if a guy thinks he can get in the turns a little bit easier, deeper, he just drives right by going in.
So the race underway. 8 laps are complete. With a surprise from the second row, Terry Labonte has moved up to take the lead. They're trying to challenge him, but they haven't got by yet. Back at the Motorcraft 500 just seconds ago, this was the situation as Alan Kowicki pulled inside of Terry Labonte and took the lead of the race. Boy, we talked about him being hungry. There's evidence of it.
He is hungry. As I said, last week, 18 inches. This week, he wants to lap if he can to show what a strong car he is. And look, he's pulled away by, what, 4 or 5 car lengths.
Back to live action as Kowicki out in front. Labonte now runs in second place.
We see Dick Trickle has dropped back to 4th spot, but still staying in that top 5.
You know, it's an interesting thing, Benny. I've been sitting here watching back in the field, the front of the field, the difference in the way the cars look going into the turns. The guys that are running in front are getting in the turns nice and smooth. I think they figured out the radials. I watched, for example, Dale Earnhardt going into number 1 turn a little while ago, and he does about 2 sets. In other words, the car is jerky going in, not smooth at all, totally unlike Dale Earnhardt. And I notice there's a lot of the cars having the same problems.
There's Earnhardt. He now runs in 19th place.
Behind Ricky Rudd, he started 7th, has fallen back to 19th. So, and Earnhardt, as Bobby said, he's been running the top of the racetrack. He tries the bottom, but that's not working for him either.
Michael Waltrip just behind there.
You know, as we go through the garage area, we just talked to these guys, and they don't have the radios figured out. Atlanta is one of the last places that Goodyear's come up with the radios. And again, it's like Benny said earlier, there's so much turn here, not much straightaway. The tire becomes more important on this track than probably 95% of them.
So Dale Earnhardt, can he get back in contention as we look back at the front of the field? And Labonte now beginning to close just a bit on Alan Kowicki. The number number 7 car. Kulwicki, a college graduate, degree in engineering. Very, very bright driver, but he knows exactly the way he wants things.
And is very much a part of that team as far as working on the car to make those things happen.
Well, he's the owner of the team, and he has his own team. And Benny, I guess we could make up a case. Maybe that isn't always a smart thing to do, but there's the Darrell Walthup and Kulwicki and a few of these guys that are owning their own cars these days.
And you look at Bill Elliott, who's been very much a part of his team for the last 10 years. He's now over with Junior Johnson, just driving the car, and I've never seen anyone more relaxed than Bill Elliott is right now. He doesn't have that pressure of running the team on him. He's a relaxed individual. But this is Alan Kulwicki we're seeing here, and he's got the world on his shoulders trying to win a race.
So Alan Kulwicki runs in front of Terry Labonte. Mark Martin in 3rd place. Dick Trickle sits in 4th. This was Alan Kulwicki back in 1970. As I said, he holds a degree from Wisconsin in engineering. One of the few college-educated racing drivers. He thinks it's important.
Just come out of high school and say, well, I'm going to be a race car driver, because you don't know if you've got the ability, if you're going to get the brakes. And you could spend 5 years trying to drive race cars before you ever got to the point where you found out if you even had enough ability to do it at a level like this. And, you know, a lot of times if you find out that you're not cut out for it, it's too late to go back to school. So I'm glad I got the education, and I think in the long run it's helped me in racing too.
Well, you have to ask yourself, Benny, on a day like today, here's a guy with an engineering degree. Really, the problems you have to solve with the tires, with the rear axles, are engineering problems. So maybe it does help a bit. He's out in front.
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that the smarter you are, the better you can make a race car go around the racetrack. But experience is the key ingredient, and Kulwicki's been here long enough now to have the experience and know what these racetracks need on his race car.
You know, and very often the guys that work the hardest, that have it the roughest at times, you know, like, for example, this time last year he didn't have a sponsor. Sometimes they work a little harder and try a little harder, and it shows up on the racetrack.
On board with Bill Elliott, you may look up ahead there, and you'll see Darrell Waltrip has managed to get past both Elliott and Marlin and is moving up.
Let's take a ride with Bill Elliott. Down in turn 1, 190 miles per hour. Off the back on the gas. We heard him get on. He's about in the middle of the racetrack. As he comes off, he lets the car drift up against the outside retaining wall. Now, he's relaxed. This is the back straightaway. Now already backing off the gas into the corner. This is the pass for the 2nd spot, or the 3rd spot.
As Dick Trickle gets around Mark Martin, let's go back on board with Bill Elliott.
And the straightaways are banked 5 degrees. If Elliott spins, he's going to hit that inside wall. He has to go down and hit the wall.
And look at that hood right there in the in-cam shot. Look at that hood shaking. Now that shows you the little black spot right in the middle of it by Budweiser there is the carburetor inlet. You can see all the air pressure pushing down on the hood. That's pushing down that air to get into the carburetor. The guys worked more on that one little spot for horsepower than any other thing in the whole car.
And if you see the hood on your passenger car wiggling around like that, pull it in right then, right, Bobby?
Well, you definitely pull it in. Know there's something wrong with it. In this particular case, that's a sign of success.
Bobby, if your passenger car runs 190, I don't want to ride with you.
Exactly. So on board with Bill Elliott while still at the front of the field. There he is, number 7, Alan Kulwicki. Terry Labonte is chasing. 23 laps are now into the record book as the run for 500 miles in the Motorcraft 500 continues. 100 from Atlanta Motor Speedway, where Alan Kulwicki continues to lead Terry Labonte. Labonte led the opening laps, and then Alan Kulwicki was able to overhaul him. Other racing going on. Davey Allison, he's moving up 25th to 12th. Look at Darrell Waltrip sitting up there in 4th position right now, and Hut Strickland has moved from 26th to 13th. Back in 8th place is Bill Elliott, who's fallen back to 8th. There you're on board with Bill after starting on the 2nd row. Let's get an update on him from Jack Arute.
Well, Bill Elliott is out on the racetrack. He's going around. His teammate Sterling Marlin has had a tire go down. In fact, they have blistered the left rear tire. Now, this is part of the story. What Marlin has done is Marlin has stayed with the setup that Elliott had. Elliott, on the other hand, has taken a setup where instead of going hard and deep into the corner, he wants to be able to come out at higher RPM and quicker out of the corner. It seems to have worked so far. He has settled back, and Elliott seems content with where he's running, and they've already begun to burn up the rear tire on his teammate Sterling Marlin, who had the old setup.
So Sterling Marlin makes that stop on the 28th lap of 328. That's an interesting situation within the team, Benny.
I'm telling you what, you know, Sterling Marlin made the pit stop, but 41 other drivers was as concerned as he was about what was going on. If he's blistered a left rear tire, then all those teams on pit road will know it by now, and they'll start scrambling around trying to change air pressure, trying to tell their driver that they've got a problem.
Battle for 7th place. There goes Bill Elliott. Around Brett Bodine, Dale Jarrett in the fight as well. As they come side by side off the corner. You see Davey Allison in there as well.
Also Kyle Petty, Dale Jarrett, and Hut Strickland. All those cars, that's 4 position.
Boy, it's a nice little pack, too.
And there's what Jack Root was talking about. Elliott's running higher, trying to run the car smooth around the racetrack and not get on the bottom of the racetrack like Brett Bodine and tear that left rear tire up, trying to run high and smooth.
Looking back from Elliott, the battle is for 7th place.
You know, as the racetrack goes on, it gets more rubber on it. You can see the track starting to dark up on the TV screen a little bit. That's rubber being laid down. The track gets slipperier. Now, that could mean 2 things. The car's not handling good. It's going to blister more because it's going to slide more. In a lot of cases, that'll loosen the track up. The guys will slow down and blister the tires less. I've been watching like Dale Earnhardt, for example, running down in the turns almost right up against the wall. A lot of the times, like you look at Bill Elliott there, they run high because they're a little bit loose, and they make a little less tight radius around the corners.
And the fight continues, not just side by side between Brett and Bill. Look at Dale and Kyle behind him. Boy, what a fantastic battle. We'll stay with this. Davey Allison pokes his nose up in there. It's about an 8-car battle for 7th place. Good little fight.
It is the black car with the number 2 on it. We see at the back of that pack is Rusty Wallace.
You get an idea, too, when they go into the corner from this particular view back from the bumper cam on Bill Elliott's car. Look at the banking there. Boy, look how that car rolls over.
Well, it's a whole lot steeper if you stand out there, Paul, than it is looking at the camera. The folks just cannot believe how steep this track really is.
Next Sunday on ABC Sports, the World League returns. In our season premiere, we'll see the 1991 league champion London Monarchs as they host the New York, New Jersey Knights. Or some of you will see the new kids on the block, the Ohio Glory, taking on the Orlando Thunder. Pro football is back next Sunday here at ABC. But right now, it's auto racing as we're looking at this fabulous little battle as Bodine and Elliott continue to seesaw back and forth, and then there's a whole group lined up just hoping that there's a chance for them to poke their nose into it. Hut Strickland takes a low line alongside of Davey Allison. Doesn't work for him.
Boy, they're cutting a big hole in the air for the guys behind, but the guys behind don't have any way to go to get by. They have to just sit there while these 2 cars run side by side, having one heck of a battle.
So there's Brett Bodine as he runs on the inside. Number 26, the Quaker State car. Fascinating driver.
And we see he's driving a green car. You know, that used to be bad luck. Guys would not drive a green car. Brett Bodine drove a green car when he was back in college. Second race car he owned was green. You know why it was green?
Why?
He went to the paint store to buy blue paint. I mean, but he didn't have no money. The guy knew that. He said, I tell you what, I've got some green paint I can't sell. I'll give it to you. So that's where he got his green.
That becomes your trademark.
Exactly.
Not enough money. Boy, I bet a lot of us can tell you stories like that.
You know, talking about little superstitions, it used to be a superstition not to eat peanuts. Yesterday, I was over talking to Bill Friend. Somebody gave us peanuts. He laughed. He says, boy, 30 years ago, they would have thrown us out of this racetrack if we'd eaten peanuts, you know.
Everything in the world changes. At the front of the field, no change there. Kowicki still being chased by Labonte. Dick Trickle rides in 3rd place. But Darrell Waltrip has now moved up into 4th place. Kenny Schrader is 5th. Mark Martin sits back in 6th place right now. So now it's Jarrett and Bodine that go side by side.
And that is the race for 7th spot. Looks like Dale Jarrett is going to take it away. He does.
Well, Bodine slips a little bit further backwards. The number 18 Interstate car. Now let's remember that Sterling Marlin, there he is, number 22, had some tire problems. Came in, changed tires. Let's get an update on this situation from Jack.
Paul, this is the blistered left rear that came off of Sterling Marlin's car. Now, if it looks reminiscent to the type of blistering we saw at Indianapolis Motor Speedway several years ago, it is. They introduced radials there, they began to blister. And there's a spin in the racetrack.
Yeah, Schrader catches the wall in 3 and bangs up the right rear pretty good. He looks to be okay, but the caution will come out.
Schrader blew a right rear tire. The right rear tire disintegrated on Schrader's car.
Benny, could that have happened from hitting a wall? Because his fender's bent there also. I don't know.
I think that's what the tire did when it disintegrated on that right side.
Oh, we see Kenny unstrapping in the car. If we could look at the left rear or the right rear of that car, that might give us an idea. A lot of damage there. Hard to tell, though. What do you think?
Looks to me like the tire came apart and did all that damage as it came off.
I agree with Benny. That's exactly. You can see all the rubber along the side of the body right there. That's the flapping going on. Now, what's happened with radials? First place, I've got to say that radials are not bad tires. They're good tires.
Best tires.
So in case we say something about them, I don't want people to think we're knocking them. But what happens is that sometimes in the Indy cars, we found out the guys put too much air in them.
Here it is as he's coming off the wall. He's already gotten in it. You can see he's got all the tires locked up, but no doubt that tire is what was the problem going into the corner.
Okay, we saw that brief flame. We talk about the bank of the racetrack. Here's Alan Kawicki is in the pits.
So the leader makes a stop. This is routine under the caution. So the tire story may be an issue now. Let's go back to Jackaroo.
Well, as Bobby Unser alluded to, it's exactly like Indianapolis. Many of these teams, in trying to find the right combination, have begun to adjust the tire pressures beyond what Goodyear recommends, just as we saw at Indianapolis. That is the case with this blistered tire, in an effort to try and get a little bit of stagger. Now, Goodyear with the radials only allows these teams a ½ inch of stagger, and many of them want more. So what they've done is just like in IndyCar racing in the early going with the radial technology, they begin to try and find some with tire pressures to get better adhesion with these tires. That's what happened to Marlin. Might have been what happened to the 25 car as well, Kenny Schrader.
Well, Goodyear's been working hard with the radials. They are better, they are safer, but it does take a long time for the teams to accommodate them and learn how to run them quick.
Darrell Waltrip is the leader after a great pit stop. He leads them out now as they prepare to go green. Pole sitter Mark Martin had problems, too much bite in the racetrack. Jack Roush and the crews told us they took 3 rounds of wedge out of the setup. We'll see if he works any better. He's 5th in the single file procession as they get set to go green. Paul?
We've raced 1,134 laps this season. It's only the 12th lap, led by a Chevrolet. Darrell Waltrip is at the wheel, and he will bring them back to the green flag. He won the battle in the pits. Kawicki built up a 2-second lead, then out came the caution, and he lost that lead in the pits.
He also lost 3 positions. He's back in 4th spot now.
There you see Mark Martin after his changes.
Green flag is out. Darrell Waltrip gets a great jump on Labonte. The 22 car, Sterling Marlin, remember, he made that unscheduled pit stop, so he is a lap down to these leaders. Also, the yellow car, 41 up front, that's Greg Sachs. He's a lap down.
So safely back to the green flag we come after the first caution of the day. The 41 car, Sachs does not count in this battle, but he becomes a factor for both Waltrip and Labonte, who are racing for the lead just behind him. Now Labonte tries the inside. Waltrip tries to find racing room as well, but decides to stay back as Sterling Marlin pulls up alongside of Waltrip and moves right along past, picks up 3rd. Here comes Kawicki as well.
Mark Martin's following Kawicki. He gets by Waltrip.
Almost like Waltrip threw out the anchor there. It begins to fall backwards.
Darrell Waltrip's car is not working right now as well as it was before the caution flag.
Fast pit stop, but still not working on the racetrack.
So there's Labonte. And down in there, the 15 car. That's Bodine.
He's going by Waltrip. Dale Jarrett's going by Waltrip. Darrell Waltrip having some problems.
So let's go on board with Jeff Bodine now. And we can add in some telemetry from the Ford Motor Company that shows you the performance of this car. See that red? That tells you when he's tapping the brake.
Hey, he tapped the brake a little bit. These guys tell you they don't hit the brakes going these corners. RPM speed, what's his speed down the front straightaway? 175, 186, 189, 189 miles per hour, and then lightly hits the brake.
Look at that RPM, Benny. That's turning pretty tight for 500 lap race.
I was watching the speed. I was concerned about the speed.
8,200 RPM I'm seeing on there. 8,300 RPM. That's a bunch.
Dale Jarrett, Davey Allison just ahead as Jeff Bodine works himself down to the inside. And again, keep an eye on the upper left-hand corner of that box. Surprising how much he has been using the brakes.
And remember, at this racetrack, 8,500, that's getting a good draft down the straightaway. The cars are not running carburetor plates. There's no carburetor plates on these engines, just so the people know. If they did, they wouldn't turn this kind of RPM.
You know, Benny, I wonder how the drivers feel about this kind of telemetry, because you used to always come in and say, oh, I never touched the brakes, no problem. Now everybody knows the truth.
Everybody knows that they touched the brake. We saw Dale Jarrett's car wiggle as he went in the corner, in the third corner.
He's still hopping around a bit, stabilizes on the straight.
A lot of that is aerodynamic stuff that's moving that car around. This isn't a good drafting track as opposed to like Daytona or Talladega or something like that. More of a handling track, like Benny said earlier, but the wind from the other cars, the buffeting, moves them around a lot.
Battle for third place as Davey Allison gets around Dick Trickle and picks up third. Mark Martin closes in behind Trickle now. Third, fourth, fifth, and sixth there. Again, the 41 car not running on this string, running a lap down. Out in front is Terry Labonte, picked up an advantage.
And that red car we saw, that is Jeff Bodine. Just went by the pole sitter, Mark Martin.
The 41 car, Greg Sachs, got a penalty a little while ago, going through the pits too fast. But just notice how fast he's going. And obviously, he's running the same speed as the leaders.
Now, to explain that situation, too, they do run a speed limit, 55 miles an hour here at Atlanta. You go through that pits too fast, you're going to get a penalty guaranteed. They monitor the speed all the way through. Labonte still runs in front with 49 laps complete. Before complete, just a few laps ago, this man, Alan Kulwicki, got into the lead. He did it this way, coming down inside of Labonte on the front stretch. Little drag race, picked up the draft, and picked up the lead of the race. Labonte now in second. Davey Allison beginning to close in from third. Dick Trickle runs in fourth. And Mark Martin, the pole sitter, sits back in fifth place. And there's Davey Allison as he comes alongside of Labonte and picks up second place.
Davey Allison started 25th. He's up to second spot. So it looks like if he can keep the engine together, this is the guy to be reckoned with.
He's really got that thing handling. I've been watching him, Benny, and he's working just about any place on the track. And most importantly, he's working on the bottom to do the passing. The other guys that work on the top and not the bottom have a heck of a time trying to pass.
Because the bottom side of the racetrack is about the only place you can pass this racetrack, especially if your high groove is your better place, and these guys are running high. If you don't have a prayer again.
Unless you're Richard Petty in the old days.
Remember too that Davey Allison is on his fifth engine today. Let's get an update on his situation from Gary Gerald.
Well, Paul, we just got a quick word with Larry McReynolds, the crew chief for Allison. He's moved to second, as you pointed out. They took one round of wedge out on that last stop. This car now is really handling well. He may be the fastest car on the racetrack as he chases Kulwicki.
So there's Davey Allison as he works his way around, having picked up second position. They found particles in the oil of that car several times this morning, kept changing the motor. Back at the front of the field, Alan Kulwicki. Let's get an update on this car's situation. Here's Jack.
Well, Paul, I'm with Paul Andrews, who's the crew chief for Alan Kulwicki, and we understand you're blistering left rear tires.
Yeah, I just talked to Goodyear about it. We don't think it's going to be a real big problem. You know, it is a blister. If a car gets flushing real bad or loose real bad, we're going to try to take it easy, and we'll just see what happens. We think it'll be good for the rest of the day. Get a little rubber on the track, and we'll be in good shape.
But the question I put to you is, do you run the recommended Goodyear tire pressures, or are you experimenting?
Right now we're running recommended, but you know, we'll do what it takes. If we feel we need to do something, we'll experiment a little bit.
I would have to think that right now, despite the fact that Alan Kulwicki's leading, he's got to think maybe he's got a time bomb on that left rear.
I think if I was going to do it, though, I'd go with a tire engineer's recommendation until I was real familiar with it. Of course, you don't know how much extra the crews have been able to discern out of that tire. Out in front, Alan Kulwicki, the 7 car. The race thus far at 50 laps. Terry Labonte was the leader of the race, averaging at that time 149 miles an hour. There'd been 5 lead changes and 1 caution flag. That when Kenny Schrader got into the wall. 39 cars remain in the run, and Alan Kulwicki is out in front. Lap leaders thus far: Mark Martin, Labonte, Kulwicki, then back to Labonte, then Darrell Waltrip took over, then Labonte, and then slightly after the 50th lap, Kulwicki moved back into the front of the field.
Well, remember, on the tire problems, a race is a racer. He's going to run whatever tire pressure makes the car go fast first. And then secondly, I just noticed Klawicki smoking the left rear tire as he came off the turn there. But they're going to make it go fast first, and then secondly, they'll start worrying about how to make them last. That's when they'll come back to the stock pressures.
So 60 laps are now complete. Klawicki still runs in front, but Davey Allison is closing in. Here is the fight for 7th place as Mark Martin gets overhauled.
And Darrell Waltrip is going back to the front. Remember, he started first. He drifted all the way back to about 10th, and now he's working his way back. Strange.
And he's running awfully high, so we know he's not handling right. But apparently, as he runs a little while, the tires must get hot and start suiting his chassis settings a little bit more, because he definitely doesn't go fast when he comes out of a pit stop, but he's going faster now. Look how high he is on the track.
And our pole sitter, Mark Martin, has drifted back. This is 8th spot. 7th spot. Darrell is now in 7th. The 6th car of Mark Martin is now in 8th.
You notice Darrell right there in the car 17. When he gets up, he goes a little bit higher in the turns than the other guys are.
Darrell Waltrip sits in 7th.
Terry Gant in front of him. He's in 6th spot. The 15th car, Jeff Odine, is in 5th. There's the 4th place car, the black and red car, Dick Trickle.
You know, Harry Gant's really had a pretty good year when you think about it. I think he's still somebody definitely to watch in a points fight. He's sitting there second in the points coming into this, and he's been pretty consistent throughout this year. Let's go down to the pits again at Jackaroo.
Paul Bobby Unser was trying to determine and thought maybe that the tires would have to come back in for Darrell Waltrip. Well, that is indeed the case. I checked with his crew chief, Jeff Hammond. The tires that came off on that first pit stop, temperatures were great, pressures were terrific, but they said they knew that it was going to take 10 to 15 laps before they would, as they say in racing parlance, come back in and allow Waltrip to go back to the front.
So Waltrip runs in 6th. We're back at the front. It's Davey Allison now stalking. Alan Kulwicki closes in, and they will now have to work their way through traffic. That's Dave Marcus in the 71 car as they move high around Marcus.
And Davey Allison is quicker than Alan Kulwicki right now. He has caught him, and it's all but the thing now. Just as soon as he gets by him, he will start pulling away from Kulwicki.
Now let's keep in mind again the tire staggers that these cars are having to go. With the radial tires, they only have one choice of stagger. That's a ½ inch. That's in the diameter around the tire, 1/2 inch. About 3/10 in the diameter of the tire. The circumference is a ½ inch. Now, these guys are used to bias fly tires where they can change the pressure, say 3 pounds, 4 pounds, sometimes even 1 or 2 pounds, change the diameter, change the stagger, make them handle differently. Today, they have to work everything else around the given stagger that they have.
So Alan Kulwicki being chased down by the Daytona 500 winner, Davey Allison, as he tries to close in on that 7 car. Nice fight at the front of the field.
I really don't think Davey is trying to catch or pass Alan Kulwicki right now. I think it's a simple matter that he knows it's an awful long race. He already knows that some guys have been having a few problems in the tire department. So I think he's just going to use as much draft as he can and let Kulwicki help pull him along.
There they are, 1st and 2nd place. Davey Allison, of course, became the 500 winner just like his father before him. Davey Allison following his father's footsteps.
Winning the Daytona 500 is the best win that we've ever achieved, but finishing second to my dad in the 1988 Daytona 500 is by far and always will be my fondest memory in this business.
So there's Davey Allison running in 2nd place. Started 25th and carved his way up through the field.
Sometimes that shows you how unimportant qualifying is, because everybody wonders how Davey could be 25th in qualifications, get back up to 2nd. We all know he's a fast race driver and a good car, but it has to do with problems that they have during practice, and they don't have all that much time in qualifications anyway.
So they fight at the front of the field. Kulwicki chased by Davey Allison. As we'll be back after this message and a word from your ABC stations. In Atlanta for the Motorcraft 500, Davey Allison continues to challenge Alan Kulwicki on the last straightaway. He pulled up almost alongside, and right now he's stuck right on Kulwicki's rear bumper. They move to the backside. of this mile-and-a-half high bank super speedway.
They swapped crews. A little bit ago, Kowicki was running higher up there, and Allison was running on the bottom. They switched. Kowicki went to the bottom. Davey Allison went up on top.
It's all a product of the tires changing, getting hot and getting cold. And also where the other guy runs, isn't it, Benny?
Well, they've also been running through traffic for the past couple of laps as they begin to pull away from the rest of the field with 75 laps complete.
Well, there's no doubt those two cars are probably the best two handling right at the moment. But often this changes as the race goes on. Kowicki's been good since the start. Davey has really come on strong because he came all the way back from 25th place.
Just came around the 66 car, Chad Little, now back on the front stretch. But there's a concern over in the pit area. Let's get this update from Jack.
Well, Paul, there's actually two concerns. The first and most important involves tires. NASCAR is informing each and every one of the crew chiefs down pit road that on lap 85, they will put out a caution so that crew chiefs can check the left rear tire. But by the same token, they are also concerned about the weather because the weather is not good right now. We're having intermittent sprinkles, and we could have some weather coming into the Atlanta Raceway that could put a halt to some racing for a while.
Well, let's hope not. Remember last year, this race on Sunday got started, then the rains came, and they had to finish the race with Kenny Schrader winning it on Monday. Davey Allison continues his pursuit of the lead.
As we watch the two guys in front, Darrell Waltrip has moved back up to third place. He fell back. He's now back up to third spot.
But still, he has a little distance to make up before he can do battle with these two. Benny, how would you feel? Do you think that they're going to give the drivers all the information on the radio about those tires, or is that something you wouldn't want to worry about?
No, I think they're giving them all the information they possibly need.
Yeah, you really have to. The driver has to know everything that might happen. I think it shows that NASCAR is really a nice, concerned organization because they are saying, like, for example, a pit stop at 85, or yellow at 85 laps.
Darrell Waltrip slowing down now as a 17 car comes off the pace. Davey Allison, using the traffic, begins a charge inside on Kowicki while Waltrip slows down. And here comes Allison down low, working the low groove on the high bank.
Oh, hold it, David. Don't push up too far because there's someone there.
Side by side on the front stretch. Still a little traffic just ahead. Kowicki maintains the position.
Now, Davey backed off earlier than he had to because he saw that traffic was going to get him right in the middle of the turn. So he's better off to lay back and get another run at Alan Kowicki.
Now they've got Bobby Hamilton right directly in front of him. Are they going to go split the guy?
I think Kowicki was looking at that for a second. Now they both decide to go low as Bobby Hamilton comes a little high.
Now, Davey's got him blocked. There's nothing that Kowicki can do. He just happened to come out wrong on the shuffle of the cars ahead of him.
There comes Darrell Waltrip. We mentioned he slowed down. He is now on the pit road.
And Bobby Hamilton is racing these guys hard. The reason? There's going to be a caution flag in just 5 laps. He needs to stay in front of these two guys if he can. But we can see he can't.
So Bobby Hamilton now as Kowicki comes underneath him. And Allen really had to come down on the brakes there. That took some of his momentum away when he got up behind Bobby Hamilton. And Davey Allison takes the lead. We're looking at Waltrip's car. There it is. The hood is up. And that's not a very good sign at all.
And everybody's kind of slowed down, not hurrying, so it looks like he's probably broken an engine. When they're going that slow, that's a bad sign.
Darrell Waltrip with 2 magnificent charges here today. Now they lower the hood on that car, and they're shaking their heads. I don't think they're going to try to put it back into competition.
They're pushing it backwards and pushing it into the garage area. At the end of the day for Darrell Waltrip, Paul.
There's Davey Allison out in front of Kowicki. Let's get an update on Darrell Waltrip now, Gary.
Jeff Hammond is alongside. What proved to be the problem, Jeff?
Don't really know for sure, Gary. He just called in and said all of a sudden the red light come on, the oil pressure gauge. It lost oil pressure. We came in and we checked everything. Oil pump belt's on. Motor feels like it's kind of tightened up, but we may have stripped the gear internally on the oil pump. So we're going to take it down to the garage area and see if we might be able to put it back together. And hopefully we hadn't hurt anything internally. We just don't know yet.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
There you see Darrell. He's not very happy.
These engines are, Paul, turn 8,300 RPMs. Boy, if you lose that oil pressure, you're going to hurt something immediately inside.
Doesn't take very long. But if it's just in the pump, then maybe, in fact, they can get something done back at the front of the field. Davey Allison now begins to pull a bit away. And is running alone now after his pass of Alan Kowicki. separates Kowicki from Allison.
And since Darrell Waltrip had the engine problem, fell out of the race, Harry Kent has moved into third spot in his Oldsmobile. And as you said, he has been consistent this year, as consistent as anyone. He's a car to be reckoned with today.
What about that wonderful string of wins he pulled off last year in the fall? They call it Mr. September. Win after win. Boy, it was great.
Benny, maybe that's a good sign for us. The older you get, the faster you get, because Harry Kent is definitely faster than he used to be.
But I don't want to drive a race car. I'll be the fastest at the airport, the fastest at the booth, but not in a race car.
Davey Allison, the Daytona 500 winner. Is this shades of Daytona again?
Caution flag is out.
As the caution comes out, Davey slows it down.
This is lap 85, as they told us in the pits. I think Jack Arute told us just a moment ago. There is a caution flag to make sure that these left rear tires are going to stay on these cars.
Now, Benny, let's tell the people again, this is a NASCAR yellow. This is a deal for safety. Les Richter's decided they must take a look at these tires because they really don't want the accidents. That doesn't make good racing.
So NASCAR makes the decision, warns everybody, and then brings the caution out. The caution car in front of Davey Allison, the leader of the race, here at 85 laps, 328 laps, the scheduled distance to make up the 500 miles as they race here for a purse of $753,000. This will give the crews a chance to take a look at those cars, look at the tires. Now, what would their options be, Benny?
Well, right now, if there's only isolated instances, if only a car or two has a left rear tire bad, then they would probably just run green flag and let those guys work it out. But if everyone has a left rear tire, then we'll find out about the next option.
And, of course, as soon as they went yellow, they also opened the pits. And that gave Davey Allison and the rest, the leaders of this race, a chance to come down. And now the crews will start to take a hard look. At the same time, as long as you got the car there, it only takes one guy to look at the tire. The rest of them can go to work.
And we got to keep in mind, what they're doing now is going to take the tires off. Even if they didn't need them, they're going to look at them. This race is 328 laps long. It's only 85 laps into it right now. What they see from the tires will have to do with how their game plans go the rest of the race, Paul.
Allison comes out and gets out just ahead of Alan Kowicki.
There again has his car moving, so I guess he will come out in third spot. He does, so the cars come out on the racetrack exactly the way they went in.
And, of course, under the caution, nobody's really coming out hot. And now these crews will have to go to work among themselves and also with the tire engineers to make sure that they have something that's workable to the end of the run.
It's always talk about how they used to do it and how they do it now. You notice when they come out now, they don't smoke their tires down the pit lane. They must go a certain speed. The pits are blocked off in segments. There's lines across them. Les Richter and Dick Beatty sat over there with stopwatches. They use these things a little bit like the VASCAR speed traps on the highways, and they clock and see how fast the guys are going, and they do it randomly. So the guys could get caught. They don't want to take a chance on it, so all the racing out of the pits is ended.
As Richter and Beatty are NASCAR officials, along with the group that keeps good track of this race and keeps them under control. Let's go down to Alan Kowicki's pit. Here's Jack.
Well, Paul Andrews has just completed talking to the Goodyear Racing tire engineer. These are the tires that came off of Alan Kowicki's car. And, Paul, what do they look like?
They look real good. They look good. I guess we got the rubber on the track, you know, and we told Alan about it also. He probably took care of the car a little bit better. But as far as running real good today, you know, we let a lot of laps. We want to keep leading some more. We don't want no problems. NASCAR don't want no problems. They done a good call by having that pit stop. That was good.
When you say Alan takes a little better care of the car because he knows he's got a tire problem, what can he do?
Well, just maybe drove a little different. Knowing there was a problem, knowing where the problem was, that's, you know, just kind of in his mind, and maybe drive in just a little easier or something like that, or come off a little easier. I think we're going to be fine.
Let's check in with Gary Gerald and see how the second place car's tires are.
Larry McReynolds is talking with his driver, Davey Allison, right now. They've come to the backside of the pit area. They've taken a very close look at the tires. As soon as he's off the radio, we'll try to get a word with Larry to see what their findings have been. To our untrained eye, it looked like they were in pretty good shape, both of the tires that came off the rear. Larry, can you tell us about your assessment on those tires?
Well, we looked at them. You know, that was stickers when we put them on. They was new tires. There's been a lot of teams blistering tires. We went scuffs when we started the race and went to stickers. Both sets has looked good, so that tells us hopefully the car's working pretty good, you know. This team's tearing up some left rears, which means good car's got a bad push in it.
That gets everybody more than a little apprehensive, doesn't it?
It really does. You know, they're out there running awfully fast, and you have to let your driver know that their tires are blistering. That way, if he feels anything that's unusual, you know, I gotta get back.
All right, he's on his way. Paul?
Well, Benny Parsons, you've been watching some of the other pits. We have two good reports. How do you think the rest of pit road's looking?
Well, it looked like the 22 car once again took a blister tire off. I'm not sure. It looked like maybe it was just some oil or something on the car, but it looked like a dark spot. I did see Kawicki make a chassis adjustment on his car, but his tires was good. So I think that the tires are probably isolated instances.
Well, Jack Arute is right now down in Sterling Marlin pit, the 22 car, Jack.
And Benny Parsons, you're absolutely correct. He did blister a tire, but remember, Benny, they are using the severe camber on the back of the car, you know, in the rear end area. So that was the concern they had. That's why his teammate, Bill Elliott, went the other way in a different gearing. So they expected some severe blistering, and that's what they're getting.
And Benny, that's one of the advantages of having a two-car team, is that you can have two entirely different setups and hope that one of them is correct.
Well, Bill Elliott looked like he made the right decision as far as durability is concerned, but Elliott's car is not running certainly the way it has the first three races. These two cars, the 28, the 7, the 33, that's the cars that are running well today.
Field back lined up as we go green again.
So often we see as the race progresses, the guys change them. Bill Elliott may come back up and go fast again.
So back under the green flag after a caution period to check those tires. Davey Allison, the 8th straight race that Davey has led at least one lap. Who holds the all-time record? Bobby Allison. He led 39 straight races during 1971 and 72. Right now it's son Davey out in front. Gant sits in 3rd place. Kawicki trying to overhaul Allison.
And he's trying to pass Davey. He's trying to get alongside, going down in turn 1, backs off, can't make the pass.
They've been running some laps well above 170 miles an hour, up toward 171. Average speed of the race with the cautions down to 147.9. And Harry Gant challenges Kawicki. Bodine's there as well.
And Dave Marcus on the inside. I think he's going to be a problem for Harry Gant as they come off the corner.
Dave Marcus actually runs in 33rd place, a lap behind the leaders.
Ford against Ford. It's always interesting when you see them line up like that. Who has the best engine?
On board now with Jeff Bodine as he's just behind Kawicki. And by the way, Terry Labonte's begun to move back up. He was just behind Bodine just a couple of seconds ago, so he should be challenging at any moment as Bodine tries to make up the distance. You ride with the 3rd place.
But he can't close up on these front 2 cars. 28 cars a leader. Davey Allison, the orange car directly in front of Jeff Bodine. Alan Kawicki, 2nd place. We're inside the 3rd place car.
Let's ride with this just a while as Kawicki comes a little bit lower. Onto the backstretch now. The cars flatten out. Come up to top speed here. And back at the front, there's Allison and Kawicki. Again, 2 different lines as Kawicki comes down low and comes up behind Allison on the front stretch.
Now, they all have new tires on, Paul, so they're going to want to take it a little bit easier for a few laps, not drift the cars too much, because if a tire's going to give problems, its most likely time is when it's brand new.
So the fight continues, and most of the day it's been right here at the front of the field. Bodine in 3rd, Labonte 4th, Gant 5th. 6th is Mark Martin. Dick Trickle runs in 7th. Kyle Petty is 8th. Place car, Bill Elliott. Michael Waldrop up ahead. But let's get an update on Bill. Here's Jack.
I'm with Tim Brewer, who calls the shots in the Junior Johnson pit for Bill Elliott. And you don't have tire problems.
No, the tires, you know, we don't have any problem with those, Jack. It's just one of those deals right now where we made a lot of changes this morning. We kind of lost a cambered housing we had. You know, had to do some drastic changes. Right now, we're just trying to get the thing adjusted to where Bill can hopefully be pretty good here at the end.
We've talked about the fact that he wants to be able to come up out of the hole, out of turn number 2 and turn number 4, and not go as hard into the corners.
Well, you know, that's Bill's style. You know, he's awful good with the car. He don't really try to abuse the tires. And right now, Jack, we're just trying to hang on to where we can adjust our car to be really good at the end.
Benny Parsons, I would think maybe they hope that the track comes to them.
We can see how high he is on the racetrack. This is Bill Elliott. We're inside with him. Michael Waltrip right in front of him. And then Pennzoil Pontiac. Michael taking the low group. Bill Elliott up high. We hear Bill backing off the gas. Still off the gas. Now back on the throttle.
That's off the throttle a long time. And of course, the more throttle you can use in the turns, the faster you go down the straightaways. But he's gaining on Michael right there, and he's using a lot of the drafting to get up on him. When you get that close, anybody gets a pretty good draft.
Still at the front, though, it's Davey Allison. Alan Kawicki chases. Jeff Bodine sits in third. We're back at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the Motorcraft 500. 328 laps of scheduled distance, 102 are complete. 500 miles. Davey Allison, the winner at the Daytona 500, is out in front of Alan Kawicki. In third place is Harry Gant. Jeff Bodine sits in fourth. Fifth place is Mark Martin, the pole sitter on this run. The interval first to second, just at 1.2 seconds. But it seems for the past several laps that Kawicki has been satisfied to sit back and watch Davey Allison and find out exactly how the cars are performing, and perhaps also try and conserve some of the tires. As we look down through the entire lineup now at lap 100.
Davey Allison, Alan Kawicki are front two. There we see Jeff Bodine, Terry Labonte, Hutch Strickland, Kyle Petty in ninth, and Dale Jarrett in 10th.
Morgan Shepherd, time winner here. Richard Petty moves up from 32nd into 12th, so he's having a great day.
We see Earnhardt started 7th, back in 18th, followed by Rusty Walsh, Derek Cope.
Saw Charlie Glotz back there a moment ago. He's competed here in 1960. That was the year this track was built.
All these cars are one lap down. Bobby Hillin, Stanley Smith, Buddy Baker. Dorsey Schrader 2 laps down, along with Ernie Irvin's car driven today by Bobby Labonte in 35th spot.
There's a completion of all the cars currently running. We have 3 out of the run. Darrell Waltrip, Bob Chack, who actually started the car for Dave Mader third, and Ken Schrader with his accident. Waltrip, the engine let go, though there was an indication they were going to try to get that car back into the fight. So that's the rundown of the full field. We are now 105 laps deep. The leader, Allison.
And Harry Gant just blew by Alan Kawicki down in 1 and 2 and took over that second spot. So Harry Gant now on the move. Maybe the quickest car on the racetrack.
I'll tell you what, this is definitely a man to watch this season. I think Gant is having a good time. That car is running very well. You keep talking about the domination of the Ford. That Oldsmobile has been very powerful.
People might have thought he was an accident last year, but Paul, he's not an accident. That Harry Gant is on the move.
Well, Davey Allison is in the lead, back in 16th place, moving down below Michael Waltrip in the 30 car. That's the 3 car of Dale Earnhardt. Started 7th, back to 17th place, 16th now. Boy, he caught a break on that caution because he was running right in front of the leaders, and the caution kept him on the leader lap. So Earnhardt, former winner here, couple of wins for Earnhardt. Boy, he loves this track.
It's a long time since we've seen Dale have this many problems. He just hasn't gained much. Watch how high. Well, the one time I've been watching, now he's running low. Every lap up till now, I've been sitting telling you and Benny how high he's been running, almost touching the walls in the corners.
But you know, Bobby, a couple of laps ago, he moved down on the bottom of the racetrack, and his speed has picked up dramatically down lower.
He's not handling good, and he's trying to grab that dry pavement where there's no rubber down there. He was running so high a little while ago, Benny, I really thought he was going to scrub the wall a couple of times.
He was called the Dominator. I'm sure he will be again. So as Earnhardt works his way around, remember in 1980, it was Dale's second career win, his first on a super speedway here in Atlanta. Let's take a look. The final lap of that race. Little different car. Royal blue and yellow instead of the black of today.
That was owned by a young man out of California. Rod Osterlund.
Dale Earnhardt in 1980, the winner at Atlanta. And back in the field, there's Richard Petty, the famous number 43, runs in 13th place. But that's a substantial increase from where he started in 32nd. His finishes thus far this season, a 16th, a 16th, and a 21st. He still keeps that towel tightly in his teeth, though now it hangs out from in front of that full face helmet that he wears to help circulate a little better air supply, keep the carbon monoxide away from him.
That's just a damp towel, something for him to chew on, keep some moisture in his mouth. You see him going down that corner. We saw him look up just a moment ago. There he looks up to see who's behind him. There we see Earnhardt on the inside, and look, Richard Petty still doesn't wear gloves inside that race car.
Nope, just hunkered up on that wheel there. He is, without a question, a legend. His 34 years behind the wheel, he scored the most victories in the Winston Cup, over 1,100 races, 200 wins. When he retires, will there be a new face at Petty Racing?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough on me to turn loose of what I've been doing for 34 years. You know what I mean? And as far as driving, I can always tell somebody else what they do wrong because I've been out there and see what's going on. So I'm going to have to control myself from that standpoint. And plus, going from, like you say, a Petty driving the car to another Petty would be too much comparison. And I don't want to get into that, and Kyle doesn't want to get into that. But if we could get someone else to drive the car for a couple of years and do pretty good with that, then, you know, then if Kyle did come back, then he'd come back as his own man.
So what will happen at Petty Enterprises when he moves from driver to owner and boss at the end of this year? Here are two great champions, Petty in the 43 car high, 7 Winston Cup wins, and Earnhardt, the 3 car, as they continue to battle, now with 5 Winston Cups. And they fight for 13th place.
I'm telling you, Earnhardt, when he started running the bottom of the racetrack, has really mowed down the traffic. He has moved up. Let's see, he's moved up to the 14th spot, picked up 4 spots in the last 10 laps.
That seems to be working for him. We heard Richard. Now, what about Kyle Petty? Tried to follow the racing path by driving for his father. Will he be back at Petty Enterprises?
I think family ties are a whole lot stronger than any money is. And blood's thicker than water, you know that. And, you know, I think eventually there will come a time when I drive for Petty Enterprises. And I drive for Richard Petty. When I drove for him before, I was 18 or 19 years old and knew absolutely everything there was to know in the world. So our personalities clashed pretty heavy when I worked for him before. But like I say, after over a period of years, I've gained a whole lot more respect for what he knows and his ability. So I could probably work with him a little bit better now. But the big question is, when will Richard Petty ever get out of a race car? You know, God only knows when that'll be. And I'm not sure when that time comes that I'll be the next driver. I don't want to be, I would hate to be the next driver to follow Richard Petty in the Petty Enterprises.
So at least Kyle and Richard agree on one thing. Kyle doesn't want to necessarily be the next guy at Petty Enterprises.
I thought that was great that Kyle admitted he knew everything when he was 18 years old.
Not the experience of too many fathers and sons, is it? No, just all of them. Davey Allison is still the leader. We'll be back after this message and a word from your ABC stations. Back at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the Motorcraft 500. You watch a battle for 3rd place as Dick Trickle has been climbing all over the back of Alan Kowicki in a great little fight. Trickle's been Mr. Consistency here today. So, by the way, has Harry Gant, who runs in 2nd place behind this man, the leader, the 28 car, and that is none other than Davey Allison, the winner at the Daytona 500, who's having a splendid day. Let's see if we can get an idea as we see Allison go into the corner. And he runs alone. And here comes Trickle inside of Kowicki. Nice little fight here. Boy, they've been at one another for the past 4 or 5 laps.
They have been, but Trickle can't make the pass.
He can get there, but he can't seem to make it too easy. But look at him get up alongside. That's really good racing.
Burns up a lot of energy through the corner, but boy, look at that. Now can he stay there?
That's going into the turn. That's the back-off period that they have. The easiest place to pass, or the easiest time, I should say.
Caution flag is out.
Car brushed against the wall as the caution comes out, and they come back to the line with Trickle getting there ahead of Kowicki in that fight for 3rd place. Allison's still the leader, and the report is that Earnhardt may have brushed the wall.
I don't see Earnhardt on the racetrack.
Ford with a caution flag. And there is Earnhardt. Let's take a look at that car.
There's something, there's somebody's tire laying on the racetrack. Or a part of somebody's tire. That's the tread that blew off. That's what happens, Paul. I was telling you about earlier. It happens when they put too much pressure in sometimes. It explodes the outer part of the tire.
We can see the 41 car was going down pit road, and part of that tire has went up and hit. We can see some damage on the right front. That tire that we saw hit that 41 car. There's damage to the right side of this Kellogg's car.
Chad Little, now you got to remember when these tires, if they do come apart, there's a lot of energy involved, and it's not the safest thing in the world either for the car that has the tire, but also the cars that are around it. Let's go down to Jack.
Paul, it actually was Dale Earnhardt who blew a tire. The pieces came off, and they actually had started to tear out the bodywork on his car as well. So this is a good stop, this caution, because they were going to bring out the caution, NASCAR was, on lap 135 to again check the tires. Leaders are in the pits. They're going to get their service. Let's go back up to you.
So Davey Allison comes in. Left side change on the tires for the leader of the race. And he's away.
Wow, he is already moving down pit road. No one else on pit road. Now finally Alan Kowicki starts to move.
The tread of that tire comes off the track. Safety crew's right there.
Fast pit stop for Davey Allison and crew.
Boy, between the racetrack and the pits, they've really got this thing figured out.
They have. Look. Larry McReynolds, we saw just a moment ago in his interview, he went with Davey Allison last year about May, about the 1st of May. Since then, the 28 car, that just seemed to make the difference that 28 car needed was Larry McReynolds at the crew.
Well, you know, a team is only as good as its worst member, Benny, and often that's what happens. Davey really has a good one now.
Put him in victory lane, the Daytona 500. Put him well on his way here today. And Richard Petty makes his stop.
World of sports. One athlete has embodied both the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
Look out! Petty's car smashing into the rail. The checkered flag is out, and Richard Petty has won the Daytona 500. One left to go.
I've never seen such a good close race as this. Look how close they are.
Richard Petty, a routine pit stop.
No, the car burst into flames. Petty is on fire.
In 1962, ABC first met the man named Petty.
And here was the car spinning right down in front of us. That's 43. That's Dick Petty of Randall, North Carolina, in a 62 Plymouth.
He was Dick Petty then, but soon would earn the title of King.
Can't get back in the race. No, that's not a break.
Running pretty good.
Yeah, that's true. How's the track? Very fast.
Fast, awful fast.
In 23 and a half years of doing racing for ABC, Richard Petty never turned me down for an interview and never said come back later.
By 1969, Richard Petty was already NASCAR's winningest driver. But all his races did not end in victory lane.
But there's been a crash on the home stretch. This could be a very bad accident to one of the best-known race drivers in the world.
Sometimes victory eluded him only by inches.
Oh! It's a straightaway. They did hit. He crashed into the wall. Will he come across the start-finish line? He's going to win the race. He's going to win it spinning. No, he did not make it. He is less than 100 yards from it. Here comes Pearson. Pearson's going to win it.
By the end of his second decade of racing, Richard Petty owned a host of NASCAR records. He was the king of his racing realm. And in 1984, President Ronald Reagan made the pilgrimage to Petty's court to witness history.
Down the front straight. Here they are, Sam. They will come across the yellow line just about together, but Petty had the lead. Richard Petty has won the 200th race of his incomparable career.
Keith Jackson covered many of Petty's races.
He's done everything for his sport that a man could do. And he leaves it with great dignity and everybody liking him. And when you can walk out that way, baby, that ain't bad.
I would like people to look at me that here was a man that enjoyed what he did and what he accomplished, and really wanted to do that and was able to do what he set out to do.
and again, enjoyed every minute of it. So, you know, it's not that I want to set records. I didn't set out to set records and all that stuff. So that part of it's just, it just happened to come. You know, everybody looks at me a little bit different, so everybody's going to remember me a little bit different. So it's hard for me to tell you how you're supposed to remember me.
Many men aspire to greatness, but few possess the intensity, commitment, and wisdom to attain it. Richard Petty's road to immortality has been all that and a source of joy in athletic excellence.
Richard Petty, a man who wears the crown of champion so well, now runs in 16th as we come back to the green flag. And Harry Gant closes on Davey Allison. 131 laps complete as we come out of the caution period. But Allison is still so very, very strong here, both on the track and in the pits. A blistering fast stop during that last caution and puts him right back in the lead.
There's no doubt it is a team effort, as Bobby Unser mentioned just a moment ago. The team makes, they win, they lose races, and Davey Allison and the 33 car, both these cars have two of the strongest teams in NASCAR.
Well, that Harry Gant is coming on strong, Benny. He's really pushing Davey hard. Still early in the race. Gant usually, it seems to me, likes to wait till a little bit later in the race to come on with his customary really strong effort, but he's doing it right now. The race is not even halfway over.
As Gant challenges Allison, Trickle still runs in third place. Kyle Petty, with the caution, moved up into fourth. Jeff Bodine is fifth. Keep an eye on that 33 car. You're going to see a lot of it this season. Harry Gant, Allison and Gant first and second on the track, and first and second in the points. Let's go to Gant's pit. Here's Jack.
Well, Paul, they've radioed to Harry Gant to go ahead and turn it up. Now, remember we had the first check on tires on lap 85? They found a blistered right front. So they backed off a little bit, changed the wedge, and they wanted to see what the tire wear was going to do. They've seen it now, and they feel that they can go back and race hard.
What they would do in a case like that, Paul, is they changed the wedge, meaning they took a little bit of weight off the right front and the left rear, so it wouldn't push so much. And that's what he's looking like now. They've definitely picked up a little bit more speed, because this is the only guy for a long time that's really been able to push Davey Allison. And he's pushing him hard. He works the bottom, he works above him, he works everywhere, and pretty soon, we can just watch. He's going to attempt to pass.
Davey Allison with Gant packed right there. After now, they tell Gant that everything's fine and you can go to work on it. Things have looked fine on board Allison for most of the day.
But right now, every time he looks in the rearview mirror at Davey Allison, he sees Harry Gant. And pretty soon that begins to wear on you. You start trying different grooves, going in harder, getting on it harder. And when you do that, you mess up your timing, your momentum. Harry Gant will then pass it.
And especially, Benny, where your own car, there's the pass that we were talking about that Gant was going to attempt. It looks like he might go on by.
Gant forces inside, but can they both hold on?
This is one track that you can really run two abreast all the way around.
Gant goes down to the bottom, and Harry Gant picks up the lead as they come onto the home stretch. Allison back to second place. 52-year-old Harry Gant is out in front. Remember that wonderful streak that Gant ripped off last fall? And look at him now as he begins to motor away. Boy, when they tell him to turn the wick up, he takes it serious.
This is amazing. Just look, already 3-4 car lengths on Davey Allison. And just a few laps ago, no one could keep up with Davey Allison.
And it's all being done with handling and driving. It really isn't done with horsepower. You can see that.
Take a look at this. Drivers in the field over 50. The leader, Harry Gant, 52. Third place, Dick Trickle is 50. Tell me age makes a difference. I think, Benny, you and Bobby both ought to get back in a car.
That's okay. Well, you don't like us being up here with you?
Well, no, I enjoy it, but I enjoy watching both of you a whole lot more.
No, I think they ought to have a senior steward. Then we'll get Benny off the seat there and get him going.
I don't know if I can race with these. Look at these guys over 50 years old and still doing that great job. Harry Gant just signed a new 3-year contract.
So you see the first four lined up there. Harry Gant, Davey Allison, Dick Trickle. Jeff Bodine runs in fourth. And Harry Gant running out in front. There his finishes thus far this year. He's been fairly consistent, now leads this race. Remember, last September, he ripped off 4 in a row. They called him Mr. September. But for Harry, what was the biggest moment of that run?
I think the biggest thing I got out of it was compliments from other crew drivers and crew chiefs, how good the car was running. It made you feel real good. You know, they considered it. You know, they come to me, you know, like we won 2, and they said, you know, you going to 3 men a week today? I said, no, we probably not. You know, we did, and they'd say, well, you know, and we just kept it coming, and it was, but their confidence, I think, was the best.
So Harry Gant runs at the lead of this race. Let's get an update on him. Here's Jack.
Well, Paul, what makes that run by Mr. September even more incredible is the fact that he did it with one car that Richard Jackson constructed, and he said he found that what it did is it really liked the radial tire technology. Jackson had concentrated on things like bump steer and roll center. So what they did over the winter is they took all of that technology and built a brand new car that they unveiled at Daytona. This is their second run with it. They call it Lola. I asked why. He says, because like in the song, what Lola wants, Lola gets.
Jack, you've got your Jacksons mixed up. It was Leo Jackson who owns that car. Richard is his brother who owns the one car.
One Jackson seems to be the same kind of Jackson to me because they both operate up there in Nashville, North Carolina. You're right, Benny.
And, you know, I think the answer to this whole thing with Harry Gant is he's just going through a second childhood. I think he's going to make it till he's 80 years old.
Let's go back to the fight for 5th place. And who's there? Hut Strickland, 12 car.
Alan Kowicki and Kyle Petty. Kowicki, we saw up front leading the race, running in the top 3 most of the day. After this last pit stop, he's drifted back to the 6th place and seems to be hung there. Just can't seem to do too much about it.
Strickland's best career finish last year came second to Davey Allison at Michigan. Best finish here is 8th in 1989.
And just so everybody knows, how does a guy like Kowicki go back this far when he was leading the race for such a long time? And it's because the track changes. The track changes constantly as the whole race goes on. And remember, the race is 328 laps long. So there'll be a lot of changes as we go through it. But the guy that figures it out the best, theoretically, should be the winner.
So Hut Strickland with a good run. Look at Kyle Petty there, the number 42 car. You heard from him just a few moments ago, who hopes he doesn't end up working at Petty Enterprises next year, but maybe in the future.
I got a story I got to tell you about Kyle Petty. Talk about going back to Petty Enterprises. They were working on the shop, built a new building back when Kyle was just a youngster, 7, 8 years old. They went to the racetrack. They poured the cement floor. It was still wet when Richard and the crew went to the racetrack. Kyle got his cousins out, 2 cousins and his sister Sharon. They round up all the dogs in the neighborhood and throw them out on this new concrete floor and wouldn't let them off the floor. Oh, made the awfulest mess you've ever seen. He said that's the maddest he ever saw, Richard Petty.
No wonder Kyle can't get a job at Penny Enterprises.
That's right. Remember another thing about Kyle, too. He's given up his career in music, which was a very good one, for a full-time racing job. So that means he's got his head on straight now, or at least for the racing fans he does.
I think he found that racing was his work and music was his relaxation, and it had in fact become work, so he said, I'm just going to go racing. The leader is Harry Gant. Davey Allison slid back to 2nd place. 500 Atlanta, the 33 car. Harry Gant has 2 seconds over the 2nd place. Davey Allison, after 150 laps, which was 4 laps ago, Gant at that time was the leader, and he was averaging 150.1 miles an hour. The point, 8 different lead changes, 3 cautions, 2 of those to make sure that the tires were working properly. They wanted to check the tires. Remaining in the race, 36 cars. Most notable among those out, Darrell Waltrip with a blown engine. Lap leaders thus far in the run. Boy, they've seesawed back and forth. And in this order, you don't see Gant's name. He was just carefully staying in there, waiting for the opportunity. And then finally, Harry Gant moved out in front at the 137th lap. Now at the 156th lap, approaching the halfway point. And Harry Gant, now you normally think that that 4 car would be Ernie Irvin, but that's Bobby Labonte. Ernie was involved in an accident yesterday in his Grand National car, broke a collarbone. He took the green flag here, took the first lap so he could get the points, but then he climbed out of the car and let Bobby take over.
And Bobby has had absolutely no time in the car, no practice. He never turned the wheel until he got in it. So we'd expect the car doesn't fit him just perfectly, Paul.
Back looking at 5th place.
There's 4th. Jeff Bodine, the 15 car. That's 5th. Alan Kowicki, a moment ago, or a few laps ago, he was back in 10th spot. He's now worked his way back up. He's in 5th. Right on the back bumper off 4th.
know, another guy's been moving back is Earnhardt. He was the one with a bad tire brushed the wall, and he's been faster ever since. He's up running in 10th place now.
Earnhardt seems to have figured something out, because you're right. He's running better now than he has all day.
And he goes from running on the bottom of the track. Look at him now. He's back up to the top of the racetrack. Just a little while ago, we were showing him he was in the bottom of the track. He's having handling problems, and he's just not got it figured out yet, and I doubt that he's going to get it all figured out today.
But I tell you, he is a classic at finding that best way around the racetrack with a car that's not handling right. And you're right, Bobby. I don't think his car is handling as well as some of these other cars. But he's going to keep searching that racetrack, up, down, trying to find the spot that his car wants to run today.
He's one of those guys that doesn't know what the word quit means. He's about the most stubborn individual you can ever see, but he's just equates out to one heck of a good race driver.
And ladies and gentlemen, that came from Bobby Unser when you're talking about stubborn. Now watch Earnhardt, because he's coming up on the back end of Terry Labonte, and this is a battle for 9th place.
And Labonte, who was so strong earlier in the race, now he's falling back. And Earnhardt was weak at the beginning. He's coming to the front.
As I watched Labonte coming right off that turn, I saw a little smoke coming off his left rear tire. So I suspect that he might be having a little bit of a problem. That's really slowing down, Benny.
But look at that line that Earnhardt uses. Right around on the rim. In fact, a while ago, he was running up on the gray stuff.
Yeah, and I think he'll be there again pretty soon, Paul. The guy can really thread a needle. I can only remember one guy could run like that I mentioned earlier, and that's Richard Petty. Right up near the top and do it lap after lap.
Well, Earnhardt is spectacular. Started 7th, fell well back through the field. Now up to get around Labonte. Gant still in the front. Allison still second. 3rd place is Dick Trickle. Having a nice little day. And here is 4th place. Jeff Bodine, the 15 car, and the 7 car of Alan Kowicki. And there's Hut Strickland. Got a glimpse of him as well.
He's in the 5th place car, number 12. Car owned by Bobby Allison. And we can see the camera, that thing on top of the 15 car. That's the camera that we sometimes see we call that the roof cam.
Yeah, what do the guys think about that camera? Do they like that? You get a good look at it there. It's sticking up on top.
They do like that camera.
Why?
You know,
you think it slow them down a little bit?
But they don't really. That really doesn't affect that car that much at this racetrack. But they love to go home and watch the tapes of the races. They love that camera shot, just like we do.
And just so the people know, too, that camera is only about the size of a pack of cigarettes, and it only weighs about that much. Technology has come a long ways in the camera department.
Talking about technology, you know how that operates. They send a signal from the car up to a helicopter that sends it back down to the television trucks. It goes up to a satellite that sends it to ABC, that then sends it out to you, probably using a couple other satellites. Now, right now, in that whole big link, the helicopters are down on their refuel, and so we'll watch them from the outside.
Are you sure we're seeing the camera from the same day, Paul?
You're either seeing it now or now.
Kowicki can't do much with Jeff Bodine currently.
You know, they're talking in ongoing technology. They're talking now about, as we watch Dick Trickle, who runs in 3rd place, they're talking about taking data out of the race car, sending it up through a satellite and back to the engine plant so they can watch it there during the race and tell you what's going on.
I see Bill France in that next booth over, the president of NASCAR. We're not going to have that for a long, long time, believe me.
Telemetry. That's what telemetry's all about. Just around the corner.
So Dick Trickle, boy, there's a guy over 1,000 wins. How many guys have driven 1,000 races?
And Bobby mentioned just at the top of the show a month ago, did not have a full-time ride for 1992. He was sitting on the sidelines, drove the Raymark car in Daytona, finished 5th, had a great run. After Daytona, they hired him to drive this car.
So Dick Trickle, consistent in 3rd place. There's the leader, Harry Gant, at the front of the field. We'll be back after these messages and a word from your ABC station. Harry Gant still leads the Motorcraft 500, and we have the word from the NASCAR officials now that very shortly they will go to the caution light again and give an opportunity for the crews to pick their cars in, bring the cars in. We have caution on the speedway right now, so this is going to give everybody an opportunity to come in, take a look at these tires again. Here's Doyle Ford. Really, a really bright move by NASCAR. NASCAR. They got a condition they're not sure about, slow them down, let's check it every so often.
But you see, the 10 car Derek Cope was in front of Harry Gant when they got to the line, so he gets to make up a full mile and a half.
And again, it just shows you for this yellow how smart a guy like Les Richter is. He stepped up there and figures this out. He doesn't hurt the show, keeps the fans having a good show, keeps a lot of race cars in. The guys don't crash the cars with the tires going bad for whatever reason. I think it's really a feather in the hat for NASCAR.
And they don't take a chance on hurting some race car drivers. And that is a concern with NASCARs and with all the sanctioning bodies is their athletes.
When you can do that, Benny, and think about the fans at the same time, really shows the sport has grown a lot.
172 laps complete, so just a few laps ago, we went past the 250-mile mark. Dave Marcus pulls up alongside Harry Gant in the 71 car. Everybody anxious to take a look at pit road as the leader Harry Gant peels off and his crew waits for him. Of course, they'll replenish everything they can while he is in the pits. There's the crew. And Harry keeps the speed limit. Boy, out in front, you don't want to make any mistakes. 55 miles an hour. He knows that. They don't have a speedometer in the car. He knows that because they run him through the pits right at the start. They set the speed. He looks at the tachometer for the gear he's in, knows that's 55. Don't do any more than that.
Boy, that's right, and I'm telling you, those NASCAR guys are really watching it. So the guys, it makes the pit stops orderly, and the whole reason for this, so the folks know, is to stop the accidents that they were having in the pit. And it looks like they've done a super job of that.
Going back to what we said at start, Bill Elliott. Is he going to dominate? Well, Bill Elliott runs in 17th place coming into this caution. And by the way, he was only 5.5 seconds from being lapped by Harry Gant. 22.3 seconds Gant is in and out of the pits.
And Kyle Petty won the battle for second place. He comes out in second spot, and Davey Allison moves back to third. Dick Trickle fourth, Alan Kowicki fifth.
Second time today, Kyle's looked pretty good coming out of the pits.
Kyle has had some great pit stops lately. There we see Davey.
Well, that feels good when a crew does that, too, doesn't it? They'll smile at one another and celebrate.
There's Kyle. Moved his Pontiac up into second spot.
You know, we still see how important pit stops are. The guys that do the best are the guys that are in the front right now, and it's a lot easier to pass in the pits than it is on the racetrack.
So this caution, again, an opportunity to check the tires. They're still concerned about the radials here on the high banks, 24-degree banks at Atlanta. We still roll under caution at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Caution because they wanted another chance to check the tires. Coming up next, more racing, as the best of these Winston Cup drivers will face the best from road racing and IndyCar racing, equal and matched cars. That, of course, is the International Race of Champions to determine the best of the best. Round one from the high banks of Daytona coming up. And boy, what a finish that one was. Don't miss that race. Don't miss this one. As the green comes out, Harry Gant leads the field down with Kyle Petty with a great pit stop in second place. Davey Allison comes out in third.
That's Bobby Hill in the black car on the inside.
And there's the sponsorship on that car, isn't it?
You know, all the Irishmen with St. Patrick's Day coming up, sponsored by Ireland.
Seems appropriate.
But there's another green car doing pretty well. Harry Gant.
Used to be the most unlucky color in racing. Look what it's doing for him now.
Yeah, he finished second about, what, a dozen times before he ever won his first Winston Cup race. They used to call him Hard Luck Harry.
Had no idea what he would do when he got into the winner's circle. He'd seen the edge of it too many times. Then last year, of course, 5 wins. We move back to Bill Elliott, who runs in 14th place. 2 wins in a row. Many thought this was going to be the 3rd in a row. There's some of that great technology as you ride on top of the car. Bill Elliott, really we expected him to be much more powerful here today, but he's not. Jack, can you update us?
Well, we'll check with Junior Johnson because I'm sure Junior expected him to be more powerful as well. Did you go the wrong way, Junior?
Well, right now we're having trouble getting our chassis adjusted for this, particular tire at this racetrack. This first time we've run the radius, and we've missed it along the way. Seems like a lot more than I thought we would, but he keeps getting a little better, so I think we're on the right track now, so he should get better the rest of the day.
But the question is, will time run out before he gets good enough to challenge for the lead?
Well, the way Harry gets running, I think time's run out on everybody.
Paul?
That's Junior, but I'll tell you what, you get Junior and Bill together, they start talking, and they're going to figure it out.
Hey,
what's happened here?
The two Fords just blew right by Harry Gant Jr. Davey Allison and Dick Trickle got Harry Gant back in third spot now.
Yeah, I don't think Junior's quite right on that. I don't think it's over by a long ways. That Davey Allison and Dick Trickle, hey, those guys have not quit.
But Allison and Trickle hook up and move around Harry Gant. Now will they stay together?
You know, another thing that's going to make a difference now, the track is going to change again. The sun is starting to come out of places. The clouds have gone away and warm up quite a bit. So every segment of this race, we're going to see it change again.
Average speed of the race still down, car into the wall, right up rushing against it. That's Chad Little.
Greg Sachs.
Or excuse me, Greg Sachs, I'm sorry.
And he makes contact with the right side of the car.
Got a glimpse of Chad coming past him. And I wasn't so sure he wasn't going to get it too, but just a glancing blow. Back at the lead.
No yellow flag for it, still green, Paul.
Average speed of this race, 148.3 miles an hour. Race record is 156, set by Dale Earnhardt in 1990 in the Motorcraft race.
Davy's on the move again. Everybody's got to remember that every time they make a pit stop, they make little adjustments to chase the racetrack, to keep the car in tune with everything, and it looks like that's what Davy has done.
All right, so here's a chance to see what happened there, Benny.
Well, here's the car that we're talking about, Greg Sachs, the yellow car, 41. Ricky Rudd on the inside. That's Bill Elliott right behind him. And here they come off the corner. He gets up high in the loose stuff, it looks like, and loses control and goes up and just, as we see the back end come around, the rear end catches, and boom.
Now look at all the dust and the debris that's coming up. That shows everybody what they've been throwing from the inside of the track out. And when the guys don't run up that high, they don't keep it that clean.
Left a few parts on the track.
Well, that probably happens when you tap the wall a little bit. They shake them right off the car.
And NASCAR has to on the caution flag to go out and get that debris.
So now as they clean the track up with a caution out, we slow down with 183 laps complete. And still 19 cars running on the leader lap, the leader being this man, Davey Allison, the winner at the Daytona 500. Been reasonably in charge of this race. And this is as Allison a few laps ago moved up behind Harry Gant. Had a little help from Dick Trickle. Trickle comes down inside, racing with Allison.
3 abreast.
Wow.
The 3 leaders going abreast.
No wonder Harry backed up and let those guys go.
Yeah, I think I'd have let him go too. But now we're under caution while they clean up the track. After Greg Sachs brushed the wall, they had to pick up some parts. And Doyle Ford has the yellow out again. Caution, but here was that pass, another angle. Watch Dick Trickle down on the inside as they both, Allison and Trickle, overhauled Harry Gant.
I tell you what, that is close. I would think there's tire marks on either side of those cars. Davy's car is black, so you really can't tell, but that's awfully close.
Well, I don't know how Harry saw it, but he apparently perceived something was going on there. And Greg Sachs, his situation that brought out this caution.
Just a moment ago, we see him lose control, goes up, the rear end smacks the wall. That's going to bring the front end around it.
In this particular case, the wall saved him.
But of course, the construction of the cars make a difference. Let's go back 1965, Cale Yarborough. Watch him. Over the wall. The 1965 Southern 500.
Well, it felt about like those astronauts been up in space 8 days. It felt about like 8 days I was up there, too.
How far did the car go, Cale?
Oh, I don't know. Must have went 200 yards.
And did you have any injuries at all?
No, none whatsoever. I was lucky.
Been a lot of lucky men over the time, but a lot of engineers that helped make them lucky as well.
One tough man, Cale Yarborough. He was like a fire plug in those days.
He looked great 27 years ago. He still looks good today, as a matter of fact.
Well, we're lined up, ready to come back to green. As the safety car is already on the pit road. And it'll be Davey Allison in the 28 car leading them back to green. With Trickle lined up right behind him, then Gant, Tolwicki. Tolwicki has stayed in there.
And Mark Martiner, pole sitters, worked his way back up to the 5th spot. I'm impressed by the run Dick Trickle is making today.
I'll tell you what, you talk about a computer for a mind. Imagine how many miles has seen, how many different situations. Something happens in front of him, it just whirs. As I've seen that before, here's what you do. That's what you call a veteran. That's why it works for him.
We talked about technology versus experience, and still, it looks like experience is the key, more so even than technology. But when you have the both of them, the combination is almost unbeatable.
Well, Dick Trickle, the number 8 car from Wisconsin, great short track master. By the way, here at ABC Sports, we'd like to welcome all of the viewers in Green Bay, Wisconsin, who are watching us for the first time on WBAY TV Channel 2. That's your boy Trickle there in second place, folks. Trying to run down one of the members of the Alabama game.
Those two guys probably just running away from the rest of the group right now. They're just stretching it out. And of course, they're teaming up. In other words, they're staying in the same draft. That helps a little bit. But remember, here at Atlanta, it's almost all turn. That's the reason drafting doesn't help so much.
Well, not only that, but when you think about it, anytime you have a new development like we do here today in the radial tires, some folks figure it out pretty quickly, others don't. That creates some greater separations when it happens.
You know, some of them accidentally figure it out. They don't even know why. And some of the drivers adapt to the tires better than others. We've seen that in all types of racing.
All right, Greg Sachs out of the race after brushing the wall. He's with Gary Gerald.
Well, he's still in the cockpit, Paul, and it looks like this crew's working hard. They want to get him out. Greg, tell us from your seat, how did it look and what happened?
Well, it's pretty tough out there today. You know, everybody's having a lot of trouble with tires. I blew one earlier on a back stretch. Was real fortunate to be in a straightaway, and now we've had trouble again and blowing the side of the car up. We'll get it back in shape as best we can and get the Kellogg machine back on the speedway.
I tell you, this is a persistent bunch. He's still hoping to get back out there and battle some more, Paul.
That'll be great.
Team manager of that team, Harry Hyde, one of my old friends that I used to drive for occasionally.
Did you do any good for him?
Yes, I did. I won some races, Pikes Peak included.
All right.
Good man. Harry Hyde is getting kind of old, but he still acts like a young man.
Between you and your brother and your nephew and everybody else, you about own Pikes Peak.
32 wins for the whole family, Paul.
And for a guy who's afraid of heights, because you are, aren't you?
I certainly am. Biggest fear I have in my life is the height.
All right, Dick Trickle continues to run in second place. Jack Arute, you have an update?
Well, it's not actually an update, but a great little story about Dick Trickle. You know, he's a driver that still maintains his short track operation. He has a complete pit crew up in Wisconsin. And when he first got a full-time Winston Cup ride, he went to the Daytona 500. His crew, his short track crew, couldn't come. So what did they do? They rented a big screen television. They carted in an entire pickup truck full of sand, put it in the garage, and they pretended they were down at the beach. There were 3 feet of snow outside the garage door, and they watched Dick Trickle run.
The guys that know how to have a good time. Take a look at this fight, 6 through 12. Richard Petty right there in the middle of it. There's Earnhardt, Sterling Marlin, there's Kyle. Bud Strickland in front of it.
And we see the sun coming in and going in the windshield, making visibility poor for these drivers as Richard pulls alongside that Goodrich Chevrolet, and he and Earnhardt almost touch.
Almost leaning on Earnhardt. Kyle Petty, you see the 42 car just ahead of Earnhardt.
I think it's good to remember these guys right back here who are not leading the race are probably driving and working a whole lot harder than the guys out in front.
I guarantee you have to worry about who's behind you, who's in front of you, who's beside every lap.
Air buffets you around when you get that many cars together. That's hard racing.
That white car is Ted Musgrave as Kyle Petty moves up and goes by Ted. Meanwhile, Earnhardt has gotten by Richard, also Sterling Marlin, now Ricky Rudd.
Ricky Rudd comes in there as well.
Rusty Wallace, the black car, just moved in the picture. There's Hut Strickland. There's the couple of red cars that look like Bodine, and there's also Charlie Glossback.
We look forward to see Michael Waltrip as he battles with Terry Labonte. The 30 car of Waltrip goes high. This is a fight for 7th place.
Terry Labonte's the car that we see occasionally smoke the left rear tires. He comes off that turn right there.
Morgan Shepherd there as well, the 21 car, as he begins now to attack Labonte.
Well, look at that yellow car, Mac Walter, right up against the wall up there. Real close.
Shepherd working real well down low. Bodine sitting in there as well.
Looks like Jeff Bodine has been able to get by the Glossback car. Yes, he pulls up right on the back bumper of Labonte.
You know, it's so great to see the 90 car of Glossback in there. This race was Glossback's first Winston Cup effort. This track since 1974, so he's having a good run.
15 car there, right there. Jeff Bodine driving for Bud Moore. It was good to see Bud yesterday. Guy has been around racing for a long time. A lot of races behind him. Right alongside the Woods Brothers car, the number 21 there. Some of the oldest names in the NASCAR racing.
So the battle continues. 7th place. Let's see how he uses this car and engine as he works around.
Let's see if the race goes on, if the speed is slowed down a little bit. He's down 155 miles an hour in the middle of the corner. Now he's accelerating. You can see he never shifts. The car just stays in 4th gear all the time. 185 miles per hour. Of course, now he is going into a headwind, or was when the race started. That will slow him down a little bit. We'll see down the front straightaway if he can reach that 190 mile per hour range.
You just noticed the difference, Benny, as you said, between the drafting and the headwinds on the tachometer, on what it does now compared to what it did earlier, or whether he has a draft or doesn't have a draft.
Occasionally you'll see a tap of the brake as he tries to keep his momentum in while still being aligned to the car that he's racing with. Sometimes you just may see that light, not really a brake, he's just started over there for a second and touched it just enough to trigger the alert, but not really to get any brake into it.
A lot of the guys just barely touched the brake, Paul, and you were so right on that, just to give them a little bit of confidence or to get the brake pedal a little bit closer, just in case they have to do it, because these guys are operating on fractions. They're not really operating as nice as it, or as easy as it shows sometimes. They really, something's going to happen, need an instant, just maybe a bit of brake and no more.
Now, you know, there are people that will teach you not in racing to brake in a corner. You don't have much choice here, do you?
Well, you do have a choice. You can back off just a little bit earlier and let the car drift in. But he's tapping the brakes to keep the car on the bottom of the racetrack, to keep the car from pushing up the racetrack.
Yeah, often if you just barely touch the brakes, the front end settles, falls down a little bit, and he gets traction on the front, which is really important in a track like this.
Well, just fine with Labonte continues.
And he looks like he's finally able to get by Labonte.
Past him. You saw that tack. You think these engines don't get a workout? Running that all afternoon for 500 miles? About 8 million miles of regular street driving?
I mean, the Indy cars turn about 10,000, 11,000 RPMs, but these engines are big bore engines, 358 cubic inches.
Yeah, they're basically stock cars, even though they're all special parts that are made, that they're basically the stock design all the way.
Back at the lead, Davey Allison in front, Trickle is second. IndyCar is now kicking up to 13,000 RPM.
Oh, excuse me.
How'd you like to see that on your tack?
No, I would get real nervous.
You never ran with a speedometer.
No.
Would you have liked it?
No, I don't think I could have driven this speedometer. If I looked down and saw 190, I think I'd have to go in the pits.
That's it, I'm going home. Fight at the front of the field. Dick Trickle, who has been consistent all day. Davey Allison. There you see the fact he's led 81 of the 203 laps that we have run thus far today. 328 laps of scheduled distance to make up the 500 miles of the Motorcraft 500. Here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, where they continue to make great improvements. A beautiful starter stand here now, all chrome and shiny, and a big sweep of grandstand in the first turn. It's magnificent. Look at that. See that grandstand there just outside?
21,000 seats was built here last summer. Opened up last November for the race. And I would think that this November the grandstand would be sold out. If you want to come to the Hooters 500 in November, you better get your tickets early, because, folks, that will be Richard Petty's last race in the stock.
Well, you know, Benny, I look at that grandstand right now, and it's just nearly full. I mean, they've added a lot of seats this race, and yet it's still full, and it's the first race here of the season.
Going to have condominiums on the backstretch. Going to move the main straight over there. Bobby Allison, by the way, was one of the best ever, scoring 85 Winston Cup wins. Now he gets to watch son Davey carry on the family racing tradition, whose greatest joys were following his own dad.
There were times when it was tough, yeah, but, you know, I look back on it now, and he's always been my hero. And there's never been anybody else that's been my hero. I've had a lot of people that I admired, but he's always been my hero. And he took me places with him, and I sat in the truck and rode down the road, and I'd sit in the stands and wait for the races to be over so I could run down in the pits when he was racing at the short tracks. And when we went to Winston Cup races, when I couldn't be in the pits when I was too young, I was hanging on the fence behind him, just watching what he was doing. You know, I always enjoyed it, and I learned a lot just by being around. And if I had it to do all over again, I wouldn't do it any different.
So one of the thing about these Winston Cup drivers, a lot of the old traditions of son following his father, handshake being more important than a contract, those kind of gentlemanly traits still live here.
And that fellow back in third spot in that green car, he understands that. Harry Gant, he's moved up almost on the back bumper of Dick Trickle. His car is good today, consistently good. Harry Gant, Davey Allison, from what we've seen so far, probably got the two best cars.
And we're also seeing the difference between those that have figured the radials out and the have-nots. Davey Allison's got it pretty well figured. So does Trickle, so does Gant. At 205 laps, here's the way the full field looked as we run through the entire order with Davey Allison out in front. Dale Jarrett with a nice run there in 6th place, moving up. Morgan Shepherd looking good. Terry Labonte fell back quite a bit from his starting position.
Rusty Wallace back in 15th. All those cars on the lead lap. Derek Cope, the 10 car, the last car on the lead lap. There we see those cars all 2 laps down. Rick Mass 3. Bobby Hamilton back 5 laps down.
Bobby Hamilton replacing Ernie Irvin in that car.
And those are all the cars that's running.
These cars out of the race. Dorsey Schrader just fell out a few moments ago, as well as Buddy Baker. Eddie Bierswald. There Waltrip with the engine problem. Ken Schrader was the first yellow of the day when he slapped up against the wall. But Davey Allison still runs in front. Dick Trickle is second. Gant is third. We'll be back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. Fight continues at the Motorcraft 500 for second place. Dick Trickle holding off Harry Gant. Davey Allison still out in front. 3 of the top 7 have never won a Winston Cup race. They include that man there, the number 8 car, Dick Trickle. Now let's go back. Remember, Sterling Marlin started in 6th place. But Junior Johnson kind of admitted they missed the setup on this car. He had a lot of trouble early on. He's now running in 20th place.
His father was a race driver, Cuckoo Marlin. Many times a champion in Nashville, Tennessee. One heck of a good driver. I remember him when I was a kid, Paul.
Yeah, I got to tell you a story about Cuckoo and Sterling. They have some cows back in Columbia, Tennessee, and one day they had to put the tick disinfectant on the cows.
Right.
So they put them up in the chute. Sterling, he's got the swab, pouring the stuff down the cow's back, letting it pour off and killing all the critters on the cow. Well, Cuckoo decided while they got him in the chute, he'll brand the cow.
Uh-oh.
And like all the rest of us, they never read the instructions. What they was putting on the cow was highly flammable.
Oh, no.
Sterling runs it down the cow's back. He puts the branding iron and sets the cow on fire.
Oh, no.
Sterling says, office scene you ever seen trying to put the poor cow out.
Did they get the cow?
Oh, yeah, they got the cow.
Cow's all right.
Cow was okay. But
Cow didn't like it.
Next time they read the instructions, and folks always read the instructions.
Next time they tried to get the cow in the chute there, it argued with him, I'll bet. No. 20th place, Sterling Marlin. Davey Allison still runs in front, has a little breathing room right now. The fight continues at second and third. And there they are, Dick Trickle, the 8 car, Harry Gant, the 33.
Trickle's car still running awfully well on the bottom of the racetrack. Gant's still on the bottom of the racetrack. The 66 car, that's Chad Little. Car owned by Cale Yarborough, we saw just a moment ago, flew out of the racetrack in Darlington in 1965. He's the owner of that number 66 car.
Interval verse to second. Now down to a second, so they are closing down on Davey Allison. Gant works the high side.
Watch as we go around the track with a camera on how wide the groove is now. Goes clear from almost clear down the white line there, almost up to the wall. Look right there how close the black is getting to the wall. shows you how hard the guys hunt for the dry spots. And of course, it shows you how close they get to the wall also.
Gant making a couple of moves there. Depending on the aerodynamics of these cars, when Gant moves a little to the left like that, and he's that close, what effect does that have on Dick Trickle's car?
I don't think it has very much, especially in the corners, because there's so much strain on the springs, the shocks. The car is loaded so heavily, I don't think it makes a lot of difference on the car. Do you, Bobby?
Take a look forward to first place. There he is, the 28 car, Davey Allison.
You think that makes much difference aerodynamically with all the load they have on these cars?
Well, I really do, Benny, but maybe not a big bunch like Daytona would or Talladega, but it makes a difference here because it tightens the guy down, and it just feels good. If you can remember, if you've got a guy running on your left rear low, and you're handling good, you really feel secure. Well, I'll tell you, these stock cars are hard to drive, a lot harder than people think, because they don't have a lot of aerodynamics pushing them into the ground.
If that's true, is the other side true? If I move up and to the right, get outside him, does that loosen him up?
Makes your rear end loose, and see, all of these guys know that, Paul, and they'll run. Like, for example, Harry Gant and Dick Trickle. If Gant sees that Trickle has a weakness, whichever way it might be, he'll go for that weakness, just like a wolf would be trying to get a little mouse in the field.
A lot of tires were mounted before the start of this race. Let's go to Gary Gerald.
Well, a lot of tires are being used because at every one of these yellows, they've been changing tires. And here behind Davey Allison's pit, there are sets of used tires over on this side. They're on their 5th set of the day now on the car. Over on this side, the crew is preparing more sets, and there are 2 more on the wall. At $1,000 a set for these radials, we are talking about a $10,000 tire bill, and we've got a problem on the front straightaway.
Well, we got a bigger bill than that for Lake Speed, who just got into the wall on the front stretch. Car came to a stop just a few feet from the start-finish line, and caution has come out.
Bent both ends of that car pretty good.
Yeah, he bounced her off the wall a couple of times. Pretty far down the stretch.
Got both walls, it looks like, Paul.
You see him moving around.
Yeah, Lake's all right, apparently. Not anxious to climb out of that car until everybody else gets slowed down.
I think I would wait till the pace car to go by before I'd be climbing out of that baby.
Tough year for Lake Speed. He failed to qualify at the Daytona 500.
Has a new sponsor. We see Purex on the car.
Yep.
So congratulations on that, Lake.
It's his first race of the year. Boy, to have it in this way. Don't worry, folks. He can drive. We can bang all those bends out of it. Safety crew is there now.
Car probably looks a lot worse than it really is, Paul. A lot of sheet metal there.
On the 222nd lap. This is the second real wall banger of the day. Kenny Schrader was the first. Earnhardt just brushed it.
They're asking Lake if he's okay. Do you need help getting out? And all the cars start down pit road, making that pit stop, changing 4 tires.
The leader, Allison, in. The whole front of the order now makes stops.
As Gary Gerald just mentioned, they're all running the price of this race up another $1,000.
Yep.
Putting on 4 new tires.
You know, what they learn off these tires, though.
Lake Speed is walking
over to the ambulance now. He's all right. Waved everybody as he climbed out of the car.
Dave is going down pit road. Looks like he's first in Alan Kawicki.
Kawicki comes out right behind him.
Comes out second.
All right. Ganton third. Trickle comes out in fourth.
You know, I think it's more fun to watch the pit stops and the exits now. I sit here and I run for the guys a little bit harder than I used to because when they leave, it's in an orderly fashion and you can kind of see more what's going on in the old days.
So under caution, 223 laps are complete. Davey Allison is in front again. Under the caution at the Motorcraft 500, Davey Allison is the leader under the caution. There's been a lot of change in helmets lately. And here in Winston Cup, some of the drivers have looked at different possibilities. Let's get an update on that situation from Gary Gerald, or Deck Root.
At first glance, one might think that there are a lot of similarities between an IndyCar helmet and the type of full-face helmet that a stock car driver wears. But that similarity is only cosmetic, because while an IndyCar helmet tries to create an aerodynamic device for a driver inside an open cockpit, a stock car driver's helmet is more concerned with routing fresh air to the driver. Now here's how they accomplish that. They take an outside air inlet, route it into a rubber hose, and then run the hose all the way up into the driver's helmet. That air then passes over the driver's head and provides fresh air throughout the 500-mile contest. Now, there is one drawback to this entire system. These plastic hoses can melt if you're involved in a fire. So what the folks at Simpson Safety are about to introduce is a Nomex cover to go over the plastic hose.
Thank you, Jack. Lake Speed's car now being taken back, put on the transporter. Next Saturday here on ABC Sports, we begin our coverage of one of the most prestigious events in tennis. That's the Lipton International Players Championships. And the Pro Bowlers strike next with the Cleveland Open. Then on ABC's Wide World of Sports, Brian Boitano, Debbie Thomas, and more take the ice for special performances in the World Challenge of Champions. Plus, the finest male gymnasts go for the World All-Round Gold. That's all next Saturday, right here on ABC Sports. Ready to come back to green now. Lake Speed's car cleared from the track. Any leftover debris off of there. Lake Speed did get out, walked to the ambulance, waved to the crowd, appeared to be just fine.
And when the ambulance pulled up to the hospital, he did walk inside. It's mandatory that NASCAR that you go to the hospital to be checked when you make contact like Lake Speed did with the outside retaining wall.
Very, very bright thing. Green flag. The car is high on the lead lap as Allison pulls away from Kulwicki. Harry Gant runs in third. Trickle is fourth.
And look at Harry Gant just pull up on the inside of Kulwicki. Kulwicki didn't get to that corner extremely well. Gant takes over that second spot.
You know, they're all on brand new, what we call sticker tires, and I noticed Davey really working his tires hard during the slower laps during the yellow. That meant he wanted to get the lead right away so he could run in the clean air.
Here comes Trickle. Looked high on Kulwicki. Now he looks low. And Trickle gets around Kulwicki. Now right behind Kulwicki, there's Mark Martin.
The train doesn't seem to ever stop. Once one car gets by you, then another one comes. Here's another one.
But the pole sitter back in this hunt again, running in fifth place.
That green car right on the right side of the screen was Dale Jarrett. That's the Joe Gibbs entry. Joe Gibbs, coach of the Washington Redskins.
Brings some of that winning spirit from the Redskins over here to Winston Cup racing, and he loves it. You know who else is looking at this? Jerry Glanville.
Yes, I saw Coach Glanville here all weekend. He wants to drive, though. I don't think he's wrapped too tight.
Do you know any driver that is?
No, not really.
Good point, Paul.
There's Mark pulling up behind Kulwicki and getting ready to pass him. Allen's been just steadily moving backwards here.
Looks like it takes Kulwicki's car a few laps to settle down and get going. This has happened more than once.
Often that's a sign of the car being stiff, don't you think, Benny? In other words, stiff springs, stiff shocks, and it gets warmed up a little bit, and it loosens up, gets better side traction in.
At the front of the field, it's a tight battle now. There's Kulwicki, there's Trickle now trying to move inside of Harry Gant. The battle for second place. Gant goes high, Trickle low, onto the front stretch. And Kulwicki sees an opportunity. He comes up behind Trickle. But Gant's not going to let go of it. Davey Ellison still runs in front. You see the interval there, and it's awful close. Trickle solidly into second. Now Gant and Kulwicki battle.
Gant takes his spot back over. It looks like that Kulwicki's car is starting to come back to be competitive again.
Well, that's an interesting situation, isn't it, the way it's transit like that. Mark Martin now close up behind Gant.
You know, another thing they do often during the pit stops, besides just putting corner weight in and back and forth, they often raise and lower the rear end. For example, if a guy's not getting good forward traction, if they take both the screws and the rear end, they can just lower the whole rear end of the car down without changing the cross weight. This is what some of them. I watched Earnhardt's car being changed that way a little while ago.
Fight continues between Gant and Kulwicki. Mark Martin is right there behind. As Gant takes Kulwicki, now here comes Mark Martin.
And Martin is going to take the spot away from Kulwicki.
Tires, of course, have been the question throughout the day, Jack Arute.
And Paul, you should begin to see racing like we're seeing now as a commonplace occurrence, because the top 5 runners The last sets of tires that came off, they were fine. So it looks as if all of the crews, at least in the top 5, have solved their problems, and they can go back to real tough Winston Cup racing.
Boy, that's a great tribute to the crews now. They've been running this race as hard as they can, doing everything they can to figure out what suspension settings are doing to those tires, making little adjustments. Can't make it too much. You don't want to endanger a driver. Go out, see how it runs, talk it over, try and figure out what changes you can make. That's a great crew when they do that.
And working closely with the Goodyear engineers. There's probably 5 or 6 Goodyear engineers down there working with these crews, telling them what kind of problem, what they can do to solve the problems that they have with the tires.
And especially the first race that they've run the radios here in Atlanta, they've done that, Benny. And I think what was happening early on is the guys were obviously have the big secrets about tire pressure away from the Goodyear spec, putting too much air in them. And we could tell from the blisters that we saw in the early tires that's what they were probably doing.
Two-way radios really come into play on that kind of stuff, too. They're just indispensable now.
It would be almost impossible to run a race today without the two-way communication between the crews. Goodyear engineers all have two-way radios. NASCAR has wet radios. And all these guys monitor each other. They have scanners that monitors different teams, monitors NASCAR. They have people that monitor us, believe it or not.
No.
Oh, yes.
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either, but...
You know, that's also created a whole new hobby. People sit in the stands with these little portable scanners. They've got all the frequencies. They punch the numbers in, and they listen to the cars.
I think that makes racing a lot more exciting because everybody would like to know what do the drivers say to the crews and back and forth. Like when they have problems, how do they get them the problems worked out?
One of the commercial companies recently, though, has come out with a military-style radio that you can't break the cipher on it, so you can't understand what they're saying. Let's outlaw those things.
There's Kowicki going back by again for the 3rd spot. Makes the pass.
So as Jack Arute suggested, the fighting very definitely now is underway with 237 laps complete. 3:28 the scheduled distance, so we're just at 100 to go right now. Gadd battles with Kulwicki. The fight is for 3rd. Allison still leads it. Trickle's in 2nd.
Trickle's hanging on like a bulldog to Allison also. You can just see him right ahead of those two cars, 3rd and 4th.
You know, it's been an interesting separation most of the day from the guys that have figured it out, which are the few up here at the front, and the rest of the field, which is running well back, and all of the fighting has remained up here at the front.
The one car that was so dominant early on, Terry Labonte, about middle ways of the race, started going the other direction. And he just can't seem to find the handle now. He's back in 15th spot.
Turn the wrench the other way next time they come in.
Evidently, they're going to have to do that. But
well,
meanwhile, these guys have been here most all day.
Benny, remember, that's the only one I think that we've really seen smoke a left rear tire that we could see. We know some of the guys blistered left rear tires, but that's the only one we could see the smoke off of it. So whatever that was, that's a bad sign. Smoke off the right rear is pretty common, but not off of the left rear.
So Kulwicki settles down now with Gant watching him. Allison and Trickle pulling away, but already Harry's coming back at him.
I mean, it looks like you just got to run every lap like qualifying, otherwise somebody's going to pass you. You know, and I'm not sure that these two cars aren't catching the leader. I haven't.
Yes, they are.
I haven't time to.
Now they're closing down on him. So with this fight between Harry Gant and Alan Kulwicki, they close down. On 2nd place, Dick Trickle, and 1st place, Davey Allison.
I think Davey also is being a very smart driver. He's a very mature driver. I'm not too sure that he's trying to see how far he could get away. Or in other words, maybe try to save enough tires where he's going to be able to race somebody if they do get up there and win the challenge.
They're the leaders. There's Davey.
There's Trickle.
And Trickle's right there chasing him.
The black car running 3rd again, Bobby Hillen, and there comes Kulwicki and Harry again.
So it's still anybody's race.
You just think about that Dick Trickle now. From not having any race car to drive at all to leading some of this race and certainly running in top of the 3 most of the day.
Average speed at 145 miles an hour, still well under Dale Earnhardt's record set here. The spring race race in 1990, 156.8 miles an hour is the race record.
Look at the tire marks right on the side of that number 7. That shows you how close they run sometimes.
Yeah, he's been in a street fight.
And I tell you really don't want to do that at 190 miles an hour. That really scares these drivers. On the short tracks at 80, 90 miles per hour, it's not too bad to drive up beside somebody and put a tire mark on some of it. Not at this speed.
There's Dale Jarrett.
That's the guy we was talking about. The car is owned by Joe Gibbs. Interstate battery car. And Coach Gibbs has been around the races. He's probably here today. I haven't seen him, but I'm sure he's here today. And
pretty race car. Pretty paint job.
Garrett runs right now in 7th place. Maybe we check in the pit, see if the coach is here. Gary?
Paul, indeed, he is here. Joe Gibbs, the Super Bowl winning coach of the Washington Redskins, watching Dale Jarrett. 7th place right now. Give us an assessment of this day thus far for your team, Coach.
Well, it's been a tough day. It's been mostly tires, but proud of Dale. He's kind of moved his way from 17th to 6th. And who knows, maybe we have a chance here at the end, and maybe we get the Interstate Chevrolet up to the front with all our guys. I really say a personal thanks to everybody that's helped us get this young team going.
Judging from the smile on your face, I'd have to say no regrets that you've gotten into this very expensive business.
I'm having a ball, really. All the guys that helped me do this, as I mentioned, Interstate and NFL, Food Line, and Chevrolet, all the people that helped me do this. I'm having a ball right now. We got a shot here, so I'm excited about it.
All right, go to work, Coach.
It's like being on the sideline. I'm excited about it. Except I can't talk.
He's enjoying this day, Paul. No question about that.
Dale runs in 6th place. Pretty good little run. Having a nice day. And here comes Harry Gant.
Why does that not surprise me?
These guys aren't going to give up for anything. You know, that's got to be fun for both of them.
I don't know.
Don't you know that Klawicki is sitting there saying, man, this is one stubborn man. He just keeps coming up one to pass me.
Where is he coming from?
And I'm going as fast as I can go.
He said, I know he's close enough to read the nameplate on this thing. It is a Ford, Harry. It's a Ford. You're supposed to let me outrun you.
You know, Benny, he's going to get it done. I mean, you just keep watching him. He just keeps pecking away at it. He's going to get it done pretty soon.
Harry's Oldsmobile been looking strong all day long. Consistent in the points this year. Came into this race second in Winston Cup points. Behind Davey, who leads this race at the moment.
But the way the things are going, he's certainly not going to gain anything. Davey Allison, can you imagine this kid? He won Daytona, finished second at Rockingham, had a top 5 last week, and here he is leading the race.
Of course, we've seen Dale Earnhardt with a lot of races and have a hard time winning the championship at the end of the year because of the way the points are, Benny.
Back with Dale Jarrett, who's around Dave Marcus. You saw Joe Gibbs just a minute ago. So does this NFL champion, does he bring some NFL experience to the team?
He brings that confidence level to us that we need to be a good race team. And yeah, the philosophies that he talks about are the things that it takes to be a winner. First of all, thinking that you can do it and what you can accomplish. And so there's been a whole lot. Don't want to tell everything that because we don't want everybody else to know. Well, one advantage we have is Joe Gibbs on our side.
And Gant Kowicki will not give it up.
This is wonderful. Attaboy, Harry, dive in there.
Good racing right there.
Go on, Alan, stand on the gas. Don't you let him get in front of you. Come on.
You think Hilla didn't learn something watching this?
Ooh, that was close.
I'll bet you that Alan Kowicki's sitting there and saying, I'm going to last at this as long as he wants to keep trying this.
It is a fight for 3rd place, and here comes Harry again.
Oh, come on, Harry.
They're getting a little closer together now.
I don't like that when they start wiggling and getting that close together. Harry Gant's car just flies through the middle of the corner. That spot of the corner, Harry Gant's car just absolutely flies through there, and now he takes the spot away.
Well, did you see what he did? He went down really low, got a little bit of the dry pavement, and really shot off the corner good that time, did he?
Yeah, but I don't think he's convinced Kowicki yet. Now they have to work some traffic.
It's It's nice when they don't have that traffic in front of them, because as we saw, a super race just because they could run side by side.
31 car, Bobby Hillin Jr. remains tagged on the back of that.
I'm just going to say, he's been running pretty good with those guys.
He's not running on the leader lap. He's a couple of, about 5 laps off the pace, running in 25th position. And here is Earnhardt as he's around Kyle Petty and picks up 6th place.
Earnhardt, you talk about determination. This guy is determined to run as hard as he can every lap.
Now, you can't see the tree on the left door. That tells me that a tire has been there. Does that surprise you, Benny?
No, that does not surprise me.
That's why that's a great big 3 on that door. They know it's likely there's going to be something that Dale's going to want to lean against at one time, and they still want you to be able to read the number.
I'll bet they've changed everything but the paint job on Dale's car today, and he just gradually and slowly is working up now in 6th place.
We're, of course, back at the front of the field. Man that's occupied that position most of the day, the 28 car of Davey Allison. But with Dick Trickle sitting right behind him and working him at every corner.
And here's our pole sitter, Mark Martin, on pit road. This is an unscheduled stop for Mark.
That's a bad sign.
The Rouse car, Martin, rolls down the track and into the very last pit. Pit number 1, the crew ready to go to work on that car.
Changing 4 tires. While the right side lug nuts are coming off, there's a man on the left side there. We see him going back to the left rear. He's taking those lug nuts off.
But they're not raising the hood, Benny, so that means they probably think they have a tire problem. Probably think the tire's blistered.
He has been lapped. He has been lapped. He's now a lap down.
Full load of gas on the car, and they send him back out 22 seconds. At the 255th lap of 328.
Now here comes Davey Allison off down the front straightaway. If he could catch Mark Martin and pass him again, that would put him 2 laps down. But it looks like Mark is going to get the car going. Yeah, he's on the back straightaway now. Looks like he's okay.
Fast pit stop. Not an unscheduled one.
Beginning now to set the scene for the finish of this race. They all work on one another, find out the strengths, find out the weaknesses. Well, Mark Martin in and out quickly. Probably a tire problem, eh, Gary Gerald?
Paul, you can see the blisters all the way around on this particular tire that came off of Mark Martin's car. It's been a frequent problem for a lot of drivers today, but this one went all the way around. He pushed it to the very limit, and then he had to come in. It was a costly stop, obviously.
That's been a problem for many. Some have figured it out, most notably these 2 guys, Davey Allison and Dick Trickle. As we look through the race, at the conclusion of 250 laps, 7 laps ago, Davey Allison was in front. Average speed well down, well off the record. Lead changes continue, though Davey's been strong throughout. 6 caution flags. Good portion of the field still remaining.
Adjusted improperly as far as these tires are concerned.
Well, some have problems and some don't. Some of the cars have not had any problems all day in the race. Yeah, some of them seem to have pretty frequently. So that's strictly chassis problems. They just don't understand these tires, radial tires for the Atlanta racetrack.
Ford's got about 170 laps, 179 laps in the lead thus far today. Eric and the old 66. So Davey Allison is still out in front. Now it's time for our regular feature on what's new in sports and science technology. With 265 laps of the 328-lap scheduled distance complete, the fight continues at the front between these 2, Davey Allison and Dick Trickle. Davey's clinched 5 additional points for leading the most laps in this race. He also got 5 earlier for leading a single lap. But Trickle is tenacious. He just hangs right on there.
And we talked about the Stavoldros who own that car. They haven't won a race with their team since Bobby Allison won the Daytona 500 in 1988.
They're a couple of nice guys. Nice team. Really nice race team to be with.
It's a good ride for Dick Trickle, who's had his problems getting good rides up here, and I don't understand why.
I'm not sure I do either. Maybe he's a little bit too old, you know, for a long-term relationship with sponsors and what have you, because he is 50 years old.
And his reputation is short track driver. All these 1,000 wins and more that we talk about him having came from short tracks. He was probably the best short track stock car driver in the United States for many years.
Look at him, he closes right up behind. We go back to Bill Elliott alongside Jeff Bodine. They battled for 9th. Bill Elliott, who we expected so much from, was looking for 3 in a row.
And he takes that 9th spot away from Jeff Bodine.
It was Junior Johnson said a little bit earlier on the television that the car is off and it's off a bunch, but they're going to keep working on it till the end of the race, and hopefully they can get it fixed a little bit better.
On board with Bill Elliott. You look back to the rear of his car.
That's Ricky Rudd.
Ricky Rudd coming up too. Ricky running in 10th place right now.
You know, Atlanta is a fairly smooth racetrack, but watch how much that car is moving right there. You can see it at 190 miles an hour. What seems like it's very smooth is not always really smooth.
I think the look backward tells you the most. It's my favorite view. You see the banking, you see how the car is bouncing, get a real good idea of what the speed is like.
Look at the different grooves they use.
Now there he drove a nice corner.
Yeah, we can see how much distance he put on the Bodine car when he went through that corner.
Well, that's when it feels good.
Now Jeff is noticing that too.
Now we'll take a look at what Jeff Bodine is doing.
Coming off the turn about 7,100. There's 79, 80. Well, we saw 85 there for a minute. I don't know if I believe that one or not, if it was just a flash.
Back at the front, Trickle still working on Allison. And he's not going to let go.
He's not going. You're right. He is not going to let go. Because you know what? There's another guy back there that's not going to let go that's coming here again.
You know, Trickle does real well here in Atlanta. 3 years ago, Trickle was hired by the Stavola brothers when Mike Alexander was sidelined by an injury. In Trickle's second start, this is Hut Strickland in. Second time in, too.
Second time in, he was in just a few laps ago. They had the hood up then, and it goes back up again. So not, as we said earlier, that is not a good sign. When the hood goes up on a race car, you got problems.
Trickle's second start with Stavola here, he finished in 3rd place. While we call this track a super speedway, while it has a 24-degree banking, is there some characteristics of the short track that are there that allows a Trickle to do well and Earnhardt to do so well?
Exactly. In the middle of the corner, when these cars get back on the throttle, the guy that could get back on quicker and harder is the guy that's going to win.
You got to remember the laps here, 100 and just right at 180 miles an hour laps. That's really fast for a car that's this big and this heavy. The handling is so extremely important here. And so I think Dick Trickle thinks that this is a short track because he always goes good here.
10th place, Ricky Rudd is in. You saw him in that battle with Elliott and Jeff Bodine a few moments ago. Routine stop there. Now we begin to wonder, how will they cycle these stops out to the finish, especially for these two? They should be running parallel with one another. They have been all the race.
We see some smoke coming out of that 12 car, so evidently he has an oil leak or something.
Whatever the problem is there for Hut, it's still there.
Well, these two cars are evenly matched, aren't they? They have been this stop.
See Ricky Rudd coming back into the action. Just love to watch this kind of thing. Listen to the motors.
The leaders go by. Here's the Jeff Bodine car, Bud Moore owned, making a pit stop.
A little clean of the windshield.
This was the Unocal Pit Crew champions of last year, and every one of these guys except one were over 50 years old.
Now this should be the last pit stop for a lot of these guys. Vinny, do you agree with that?
And we see the guy back with the wrench, putting a 1/2 round of wedge in the car.
There's why they're the champions. 21 seconds in and out. 4 more seconds, they would have waxed and washed it.
That's second gear probably, maybe third gear. He still isn't in high. There he just dumped it into high gear. And we can't use telemetry in the pits.
And here comes Earnhardt.
Again, this is going to be the last stage of pit stops. Unless something changes the race, they can make it to the end now, so all their strategy is going to come to a peak right from now till the end of the race.
276 laps complete, 277 now. The leaders remain out.
Now, this is the first time we haven't seen any adjustments going on in the back of Dale's car. They're not back there changing the height, not changing the rear weight either side. Left side tires being changed now. No mechanical things. No chassis adjustments.
21 seconds, and Earnhardt is back on the road. Been a nice, safe race. Most serious incident was Sachs when he got into the wall. He's okay.
I don't know. Lake Speed might have
Lake Speed, I think, yeah, I'm sorry, Lake Speed.
Or Kenny Slater, let's don't forget him. He backed in pretty good. But all those fellas were
okay. They're fine. They're all fine. Greatest potential.
Greatest potential for injury, yes.
The safety of the Winston Cup car. So when do these cars make their stop? There's Trickle still in there fighting. And Ricky Rudd trying to get back on the lead.
So you can see what an advantage those new tires are. That's why these fellows change every time they go in, because just look at the traction that Ricky Rudd is getting.
I guess new tires are always going to be faster than old ones, and it'll always show up on the racetrack. Guys would like to have them, but they can't always get it.
Rudd in the 5 car is well back. He's got about 3 miles to make up if he wants to get back up and race with the leaders. Now, what about the strategy for these cars out in front? What are they thinking in the Davey Allison pit, Jackaroo?
Well, Paul, what they're thinking is they want to take, in the next 2 or 3 laps, they will be pitting what they hope will be for the final time. And they want to take a little bit of bite out of the car. They'll use this ratchet wrench in the back. They will take some bite out, loosen the car up just a little bit. That is the only change they're going to make, besides adding 22 gallons of fuel. Let's go to Gary Gerald and see what some of the other competitors will do in their pit stop.
Well, Jack, we're here in the Stavola Brothers pit. And incidentally, Billy Stavola will celebrate his 45th birthday tomorrow. He'd love to have a birthday present with a win in this race, as with his driver, Dick Trickle. They're anticipating their stop in the next few laps. They're happy with the way the car is working. They've been stalking the leader consistently. They get ready to go to work now and prepare for the final servicing of the day.
So if Allison's going to loosen it up a little bit, he feels comfortable with it? Wants to get it a little more racing?
Wants to get it a little bit more racing. And we can see he is backing off. He's coming in the pits.
So the leader, the 28 car, at Davey Allison for what should be his final stop of the day. You've heard what they expect.
There's Trickle right behind him. Trickle's following him, and here comes Harry again. All three, first three.
What the leader does, the other guys basically have to do if they're close.
All right, Jackaroo waits for Davey Allison.
Davey Allison, who earlier today had to change his 5th engine, as we watch Dick Trickle and Davey Allison's crews go to work in what should be the final pit stops. They have made the adjustment on Davey Allison's car. They are going to go for 4 tires on Allison. The Trickle stop continues as well. This will be, hopefully, the last stop for either of these, providing the race goes to the end of the race without caution. He is the way.
Well, Davey Allison pulls out.
And Trickle just now is moving, has some trouble on the right rear of Trickle's car, and that is going to cost him. And Gant and Allison are bumper to bumper.
Look at that. Gant slides right in there. Gant was a little further down the pits, and it worked for him here as they come back up to speed. And one car makes a quick spin.
And the caution flag is out.
Mike Wallace, we're going to have a caution.
And Phil Elliott is the leader. I think they've got to race Elliott back to the line. They may be a lap down to Elliott.
Unbelievable situation now.
Boy, that's the type of thing that you never can count on.
Here they...
As they run back to the line, there comes Elliott.
He beats him.
Elliott leads him to the line.
He may have him a lap down. We'll have to wait for scoring to see.
Well, you talk about something changing in a hurry here. Now, that really going to change this race a little bit. Or it could change it.
Now I wonder what the situation is in the Junior Johnson pit. Are they ready to go racing now? Do they have that car tuned in?
Our board, our NASCAR monitor says that Bill Elliott, in fact, did not make a pit stop and has these cars a lap down.
Unbelievable change of events here as we move to the closing laps of this race. Bill Elliott, who was not truly in the fight all day, been struggling with that car. The Junior Johnson team's been working with it. And with the luck of the caution, now he sits in front. Jack Arute, what's their strategy now?
Paul, their strategy right now is to break out in smiles. As soon as they heard that they were on a lap by themselves with this caution, Tim Brewer and Junior Johnson looked at each other and literally just started smiling. Elliott is coming in now to get what should be his final pit stop underway, and it will be under the luxury of caution.
And he will be the only car on the pit road, because only the cars on the lead lap can pit now, and he's the only car on the lead lap.
It's nice to be good. It's also real nice to be lucky.
You talk about luck now. This is one of the darndest things I've seen. I mean, he really gained an advantage here. Theoretically, unless something happens, they can't catch him, Paul.
Boy, what a reversal. Davey Allison, Dick Trickle, Harry Gant been battling hammer and tong the entire way. Elliott hasn't been part of the fight, and all of a sudden, here he is. Jack, nice smooth top for him.
And you know what, guys? You would be hard-pressed to be convinced that this is under the luxury of caution. These guys have taken it very seriously. They've changed all 4 tires. They've completed their work. And let's see if we can get a word with Tim Brewer. Tim, unbelievable. The luck of the draw, the caution comes out, and lo and behold, you're the only car on pit road.
Well, you know, Jack, we learned this together back in '81. You know, you'd rather be lucky than good any day, but no, that's characteristics of Winston Cup racing. You know, you go on and do what you're supposed to be doing, do what you got to do to your car, and just keep working. I mean, you know, you ain't never out till they drop that checkered flag up there, and we sure ain't out of this one yet.
I think that says it all, guys.
Another definition of luck is preparation added to opportunity. As Bill Elliott inherits the lead with a caution, and we're going to have a horse race. This was the run when the caution came out back to the line, Benny.
You tell me Harry Gant, Davey Allison didn't realize that Bill Elliott was in the lead lap. Look, as Gant tries his best to pass the 11 car, but can't do it, and that's how much he lacks, making up a lap and a half.
So Bill Elliott's situation now.
He is in a lap by himself. Now, he has a bunch of cars in front of him that's on the lead lap, but they've got to go all the way around the racetrack and make up a lap and a half on him. And the only way they can do that, should we get another caution flag.
See what Bill just did, ran up there and tapped Ricky's.
Well, see,
mind you, I'm here.
They're supposed to let all the leader go by him on the outside, but no one wants to do that because, hey, I'm faster than the leader, they're all saying right now. This is really a strange turn of circumstances.
Caution car comes on. Bill Elliott's the leader. Well back in that pack. And there's Elliott. Just off the right, you saw him a second ago. There he is.
And the 90 car didn't get going that time, almost caused a big crash, but there goes Elliott. Something happened with Glasback, it appears.
So Elliott works in traffic, and everybody else is now trying to play catch-up. They got about a mile and a half to do it.
About a mile and a half. It's impossible for them to do that if there isn't a caution flag.
Sun shines now here in Atlanta. We've been overcast most of the day. That's helped the tires some. There's Trickle.
Is he finally going to pass David when it doesn't mean anything other than position? This is for third spot.
Doesn't matter nearly as much, Dick, but they're not going to give up that fight either.
Meanwhile, Jeff Bodine, the red car, is in second place. This is a battle for third. Davey Allison has it. Trickle is fourth. Harry Gant's fifth. Meanwhile, Bill Elliott's still the leader.
So we watch this fight for the moment as Elliott rolls away from the rest. The start of the show, we suggested he was looking for 3 in a row.
He's actually stretching out a little bit right now, Paul.
Yeah, he is.
Looks like they might have that car not only leading the race.
Oh, Trickle lost it.
Oh, boy.
What a job,
Talk
Dick.
about saving it.
I guess you can't try much harder than that.
What a job, Dick. Man, oh, man.
There's where that short track experience really came in. Get a car that far sideways and still save it.
Well, see, Bobby, that's the 15 car in front.
That's about where Lake Speed lost it as well. And there's Earnhardt. Look at this again.
He comes up, almost gets in the side of Davey Allison. How did he save that car?
He's still wiggling.
Boy, he got a serious look at that inside wall. So Bill Elliott leads it as he picks up the lead in the closing laps. We'll be back after these messages and a word from your ABC station. An amazing change of events. Bill Elliott is out in front, and everybody is trying to catch him. Not only the ones who are running second, third, and fourth, and second right now is Gant. Jeff Bodine is third. Davey Allison is running fourth. Not only those guys, but everybody that's running around them because they don't want to give up a lap.
That's right. If the caution flag should come out, Bill Elliott being the leader, all those guys get to go around, make up the 1.5 miles. And Harry Gant takes over second spot. Again, this is for second. That's Jeff Bodine 15. He's third. Davey Allison is fourth.
And just so the people know, the other guys have to go all the way around. I even got lost a little while ago myself because things were just happening so fast. But Bill is actually maybe in the middle of the pack running, but he's actually leading the race.
That's so unusual. You're getting lost, Bobby.
Well, I did. I got so excited about it, I took the first red car out front.
Look at Harry Gant wiggle down that straightaway.
Yeah. We've seen a little bit of that now. It might be getting pretty slick out there, don't you think? Now you got the hot sun coming down on the track where we've been overcast most of the day.
Yes, that does change this racetrack dramatically when the sun comes out.
And keep in mind, you got Harry Gant, you got Davey Allison, those guys that look like they're hit on the racetrack are really behind, but a yellow flag is what they need to save them or let them take a run for the end of the race for a win, Paul.
You see behind Davey, there's Colwicky and Trickle as they continue in their fight. As they now chase Jeff Bodine, and Davey looks for an opening.
Tries to get by Jeff Bodine.
Bodine, Ellison, Colwicky, Trickle.
Michael
Waltrip, 5th and 6th.
Pardon me, Paul, but Michael Waltrip has just pulled his car down in the garage area. Evidently a blown engine or something. He's out of the race. Been having a good year, had a good run going today, and he was showing in 15th spot.
Yep, he's going to do just fine. There's Michael pulling in. Boy, it's a bad feeling when you get so close. Fight such a long, hard day with a car that you know it's really been hard to work most of the day. They all have been while they figure these tires out.
Lonesome down the garage area. Not many cars down there right now. Nobody likes to be there.
Here's Allison trying to go on the outside of Jeff Bodine.
Still 32 cars in the run. Looking back from Jeff's camera. Right in the center of the rear of his car. This rear camera also gives you an idea of what they run into looking out the front as the sun gets low in the sky, especially getting in through 3 and 4.
It becomes very difficult because they drive the cars right into the sun. Look, there it is. And the racetrack goes away.
Now this camera is up on top of the car, and there you see we can electronically clean the camera, wipe it off. But the windshield's got a lot of oil and dirt on it that they haven't been able to do anything about, and that doesn't help the view out the front of the car at all.
No, we're going down through 1 and 2 now. See how nice and clear it is? As the Jeff Bodine comes off turn 2, goes down, the sun starts being a problem. About middle ways the back, now he starts turning in and watches the sun just go directly in his eyes. And there, the racetrack just basically goes away.
Like some of the drivers say, they have to follow that white line. It's the only thing they can see sometimes for a short period of time.
The field rundown, the conclusion of 302 laps with the surprise Bill Elliott back in front. We go through the entire field.
Our pole sitter, Mark back in 10th spot. Gordy Shepard a lap down. Ricky Rudd, also Rusty Wallace.
Richard Petty in 16th, up from 32nd.
Bobby Hillen, good run for him today, but he's now 5 laps down. He had some problem early on.
And you saw Hunt Strickland and the boys fall by the wayside as he had that problem. Interval first to second is 25.7 seconds. These are the cars out of the race. The last you saw is Michael Waltrip pulled into the garage. Lake Speed caught the wall. Waltrip with an engine problem. Ken Schrader caught the wall. First car out.
Davey Allison still trying his best to get by Jeff Bodine. And just behind Davey, we see a black car. Dale Earnhardt got his car running pretty good now. He's in 7th spot. Was trying to get by Trickle. He did get by Alan Kowicki.
306 laps of 328 now complete.
Dale Earnhardt's really been running hard. Gaining some ground. Running awfully close to the wall. Really going hard though right now.
But Bill Elliott is well out in front and cruising. If Elliott can do it 3 in a row, the last time that happened was Rusty Wallace in 1989. Go, and guess who's in 3rd now? Dale Earnhardt. He picked 2 of them off in 2 laps.
And here's our leader, Bill Elliott.
Look at that distance.
Now, folks, what happened? Let me try to explain what happened.
I want to hear this.
Well, all the cars had made pit stops and changed 4 tires. And going down pit road slow and what have you, it takes a couple of laps to do that. But Bill Elliott has stayed out there, did not pit. He has a lap on the field. This is how far. That's the second. No, that's Earnhardt, who's 3rd place. There, well, Harry Gant's on up there someplace in 2nd place, but he's a half lap down to Bill Elliott.
Unbelievable. As we're in the
there's Harry Gant,
312th lap, 328 to go. Harry Gant runs alone, and everybody's trying to run down Bill Elliott. Now, Gant's been helping everybody get around, especially Davey Allison, because if he allows that to happen, that's going to cause a point gap and help Gant out. He's 2nd in the points right now. He wants to get Allison as far back as he can. Allison came into this race as the points leader.
I think the fastest car on the racetrack right now is Earnhardt. He's running really up close to the wall and just going like house on fire. For a while, he's doing 1 car a lap. Danny and I sat right and watched him.
He watched Kowicki, Jeff Bodine, Dick Trickle, and Davey Allison. 4 consecutive laps, he passed those guys. You're right, Bobby. He is.
Comes off the turn up high, going faster down the straightaway because he comes off up high and gets a run at him and right on by.
From Bill Elliott back to Gant, 23 seconds, the interval. And from 2nd to 3rd, about a 1.5 seconds.
So Earnhardt is gaining on Harry Gant.
The last 30 laps of this race has been extremely exciting.
Think about Earnhardt. A lot of guys probably would have given up. And Earnhardt's still up running way up on the corners.
Earnhardt is, see, you have to admire Dale Earnhardt as a race car driver because he started the day poorly, he adjusted, he worked, and now he's one of the best cars on the racetrack.
Now, there you see 2nd place, and we look for Elliott. And there he is. At least 3/4 of a lap. Bill Elliott is out in front of 2nd place Harry Gant. Not far from here in Dawsonville, Georgia, Bill Elliott's hometown, about a pool hall with a siren on top of the pool hall, and when he wins, they turn the siren on. What do you think? Are they leaning toward the switch right now?
They better get her cranked up because I think that Bill Elliott has won 3 in a row.
Absolutely amazing development. The advantage of a caution, Bill Elliott takes the lead. Harry Gant's got to be scratching his head, saying, boy, I did everything I possibly could, including trying to run Elliott down to the line, and I can't win this thing.
We know it's never over till the checkered flag falls, but boy, he sure got a big advantage right now.
Oh, Morgan Shepherd almost ruined Bill Elliott as he went the corner.
Look at the look on Junior's face.
He knows it isn't over yet. Little moves like that can bring a rapid end to it. Bill looks like he's being pretty careful, not really racing with any of these boys. Ricky Rudd down inside.
He is being very careful right now. What happened was he had to get out of the throttle so much when the 21 car Morgan Shepherd went by that let the 5 car catch him.
6 laps to go. Ricky Rudd in the 5 car down on the inside, running in 13th place. 2 laps behind Bill Elliott. Harry Gant is 2nd. Earnhardt runs in 3rd. He seems to have slowed down just a little bit. Not charging with the verve that he had before.
Poor Harry Gant. Don't you know he's thinking, hey, I won this race. I don't care who's on that board. I won the race.
really came across for Elliott today.
But you know, that luck works two ways. It's 20 seconds back to Harry Gant. It wouldn't take much of a mistake, much of a change, and Gant would be right there.
Bill Elliott is certainly backing off now and just letting things drift along. 4 laps to go, taking no chances. That's Derek Cope to Pure Leather Chevrolet. He waved him by.
Look at him. He's not even up on the racetrack there. He's just absolutely being careful, just like Vinny said.
You talk about playing it smart. The problem, though, isn't it? Yeah, look at Junior. He's celebrating, isn't he?
What he's thinking right now is, I shouldn't say this, but I will anyway. You know, we've always heard about the rumor going around the garage here at Darlington is going to be a mule can win the Kentucky Derby.
Junior Johnson used to be one heck of a race driver himself. Of course, he learned to be a race driver from running whiskey. I think that's the nicest part.
The one problem that Bill really has to contend with right now is if you come too far off your pace, you can start to lose your rhythm and make some mistakes.
He doesn't have to worry about rhythm right now. All he's got to worry about is 2 more laps. 2 more.
2 to go for Bill Elliott. In a remarkable change of events, he picks the lead up on a caution.
And if the caution flag would come out right now, the race would be over. So as long as he doesn't hit anything or nothing happens to that car, he will win.
All he doesn't want to be is the caution.
That's correct.
So Bill Elliott works it off the corners.
If I was Bill, I think I would back off just a little bit more because there's a big pack of cars right directly in front of him. White flag.
1.5 miles to go, the 500 miles for Bill Elliott. As with a strong lead, he goes into the first and second turn and is on his way to making it 3 in a row. Gant runs alone in second place as he flashes across the line. But Bill is definitely awesome today. He's won 3 of 4 races if he can only make it to the checkered flag.
He comes off the number 4 turn, Paul. He can slide the rest of the way.
And here comes Bill Elliott. 3 in a row as Elliott wins on his hometown track here at Atlanta.
Listen to the crowd. They are just clapping themselves up a storm right now.
And loving every minute of it. Here comes Gant across the line for second place. And there is Richard Petty finishing 16th, starting 32nd. On his Fan Appreciation Tour, the margin of victory a giant 18.2 seconds. As Bill Elliott puts his Ford in front and wins it in the Motorcraft 500.
Bill Elliott and Lady Luck.
I can't wait to hear this Victory Lane interview.
And that crowd's not moving. They love it. This is his hometown track, and they love Awesome Bill down here. On the pit road now. Rusty Wallace in front of him. We didn't see much of Rusty today. Look at him wave. Congratulations, Bill. Beautiful day. Still, in the points, he's going to trail Davey Ellison by 58 points. And Elliott and Gant are now tied for second in the points. Gary Gerald's now over with Junior Johnson.
Junior, you've won races as a driver, as a car owner in a lot of different ways, and this is about as nice a way to win one, I guess, as you can find.
Well, I think this is the easiest one we've ever won. We just won it with luck, and that's, you know, if you win it with luck, that's easy for you. If you have to fight for it, it's hard.
Well, you struggled, and then you got lucky, and now you can head to victory lane. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
All right, let's go back up to Paul.
Junior Johnson never gets real excited. Bill Elliott takes off the helmet, and Jack Arut's right there. Look at that smile, Jack.
That smile can go all the way back to Dawsonville, Georgia, because Bill Elliott is about to get out of his car, and he is the winner of today's race. Bill, unbelievable. That's the only thing you can say.
They give me that race. We wasn't worth a flip all day long. The crew did it, I'll tell you. I can't.
Well, now, wait a minute. You want to give it back?
No. I'll tell you what, I've lost races here before, but I ain't never won one like that before in my whole life.
When you saw the caution come out, what went through your mind?
Well, I knew Gant was coming, and I held him off back to the line, and I knew I wasn't that good, but I knew I was good enough to win the race, and that's all that counted.
Early on, we talked a lot about the fact that you guys decided to go with a different setup than what you had practiced all week. And I would imagine that you knew in the cockpit of the car that it was the wrong setup for today.
Well, you know, we guessed on some stuff and we guessed wrong and we were kind of struggling, but right there toward the end, we got to running pretty good, you know, before the caution came out that last time. And, you know, we were running good enough to be in the position to be on the lead lap and be a lap by ourselves whenever everybody else pitted. So that's what kept us alive all day long.
We make light of the fact that maybe this one was given to you a little bit, but this team, that's the hallmark of it, is never giving up and always waiting for a break and then capitalizing on it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I learned a long time ago in a race car, you never give up, and today was one of them proven points.
Well, you finally brought one home to your hometown crowd. Now it's 3 in a row. And think about it. If it were but for just a couple of inches, you probably or might have won the Daytona 500 as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can't say enough about this crowd. I mean, to come off and do what we did today, it's unbelievable.
Now, I know Tim Brewer talked to you on the radio when all this happened. Did you hear anything from Junior?
I never heard a word out of Junior. He didn't say anything all day long.
Might be the first time, guys, that Junior Johnson ever was speechless. Bill?
I believe it was my lucky possum in the car.
Well, that's right. He's got a possum in the car that they put in for the first time this race. And you can see it right there. It's a lucky possum, and they loaded it on the car for the first time today in Atlanta. Paul?
Keep it there. Don't move it. The question was asked at the start was, can Bill Elliott make it 3 in a row? It's now been answered. His 37th career win.
Even Bill Elliott doesn't believe he won this race.
You know, in spite of everything, it was a good race.
Here's how he got that lead. They're coming back now to the caution. That's Harry Gant sitting there just behind him, and Davey just behind him.
Harry Gant, Davey had just made a pit stop. Bill had not pitted. And that's how much
that was
the margin of victory was.
It is over. So Bill Elliott, they're going to sound the siren in Dawsonville because it's 3 in a row for Bill.